we are continuing with the inquest into the Highgate incident. I have requested yesterday that the commander of the investigating officer, Captain Peterson, attend the proceedings today. Can I just ascertain whether the colonel is here?
My lord, he is at court.
The Colonel Khiba, eh?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Let's just see if Khiba is here somewhere. Oh, there is a Colonel. Colonel, would you mind just coming forward, please? Good morning, please.
Morning.
Do you want to just get into the box there? Thanks. I have requested that they get you to return this morning. The issue that I wanted just to clarify that was yesterday.
Yes, you are.
All right. I think because you will be required to give an explanation, answer some questions, I'm going to just ask my secretary to address an oath to you.
State your full name, sir, please. Your full name.
Sepiwo Khiba.
Thank you. Do you have any objection in taking that oath? Do you have any objection in taking
No.
Do you consider the oath binding on your conscience?
Yes.
Do you swear that the evidence you will give in front of the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please raise your right hand and say so help me God.
Not check. Okay.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you, Lino.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. You can have a seat.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
I'm just going to give you a little bit of background so that you are on the same page
Yes, ma'am.
with me, and then you can perhaps understand my concern a bit better. All right?
Yes.
So what we're doing here is a process that's called an inquest. It is a special process that's provided for in the law. It's not like normal court cases. It is a form of judicial investigation into incidents where there is no incident that might entail the commission of an offense where there is no prosecution. Right?
Yes, sir.
So in those kinds of incidents, the court provides for this process where there is a judicial investigation into the incident in order to come up with answers to some of the questions: what happened, who was responsible, etc., etc. So it's a unique process. So although it is a judicial investigation, court's investigation, you obviously will understand that I can't get into my car and chase witnesses, take statements of people. So in order to facilitate the process, I've got eyes and ears and feet in the shape of the officers of the court, legal teams,
Yes,
that
sir.
is there to assist the court to do things if it is necessary to follow up on something. I am reliant, as court, I'm reliant on the assistance of all of the officers of the court who are involved in the process. Otherwise, the process will have no chance of being successful. And perhaps I should also explain that this kind of proceeding is not like a normal case where you investigate the matter, you have your docket, you complete your investigation, you have all your statements, your witness statements, and you know the complete case, and you know what you're going to court with. you know the cases, you take it to court. So the prosecutor comes in the criminal matter, presents the evidence, and call the witnesses on behalf of the prosecution, on behalf of the state. And then the prosecutor's work is done, and then it's over to the defense. They must see what they can do on their side, and then the matter is left in the hands of the court to decide. An inquest is different in the sense that often things happen as the process is busy unfolding. So there are leads that come up, there is information that comes to hand as the process is running. And it's necessary continuously to look into these developments and so on. So it's a kind of a developing case, as it were. There's no complete docket that's here, and we're just going to work off that docket. So things are happening all the time. As witnesses are called, and witnesses say things and so on, that needs to be followed up and so forth. So I'm sure you'll understand that in that kind of situation, communication is critical.
Yes.
Continuous communication to the court, officers of the court, etc., etc. Right? So it is important, as I say, for the success of this process, that kind of normal flow of things continues, and it is not interrupted. Now, one of the key role players in the process is the investigating officer, because as much as the legal teams can assist up to a point, the actual feet on the ground is the investigating officer. Even they can't write stops and they can't effectively chase people, get them, interview them, so on. Those are the powers of the investigating officer and the role of the investigating officer. So that is a key role in the process. And that's where you come into the picture. The legal representatives brought to my attention yesterday when the proceedings commenced again. We said sometime earlier in the month, this is the second session of the inquest. They approached me and indicated that there were some, let's call it challenges of communication with the investigating officer, Captain Peterson. I'm sure you know him, he reports to you.
That's true.
So, in the light of that information that was provided to me and my discussion with the legal teams, I then called Captain Peterson to the witness box yesterday morning. He was the first person that I called to try and understand if there are challenges of communication, if there are problems, so that I can understand and I can know to what extent I can intervene to facilitate things. Because that's my sole purpose. I want to, as far as possible, get to the truth of what has happened. I want a full and complete inquest. So that at the end of the day, the affected parties, the survivors of this incident, the families of the deceased and so on, at least they have the assurance that there has been a full and focused inquiry that was conducted. So that is really my principal concern. So after I've listened to the evidence of Captain Peterson, I realized that you the commander, you the person best placed to explain to me what the situation is in terms of communications with the investigating officer, the manner in which the investigating officer, Captain Peterson, that is in this case, conducts his duties, etc., etc. All right? So, I understand that there is an instruction with regard generally to Truth and Reconciliation Commission matters, TRC matters, all right? Which might very well affect this current matter before me as well. And I thought fit to call you so that I can speak to you and hear from you what the situation is. So that also the families can hear there, because they heard Captain Peterson yesterday, and I want them to also be with us in the process. I didn't always speak off the record privately. I want them to know. I wanted us to do it transparently and in public. So my concern is just whether or not there is anything that restricts or hampers communication between both these legal teams and the investigating officer, Captain Peterson, in terms of orders in your department. So you can just give me a background, just because I must also add, I think it might just very well be a sort of an issue of communication, understanding what it is really. So it might not even be a problem, but I thought I'll just hear from the horse's mouth so that we all are happy that there's nothing that's to be concerned about. So I hope you understand where I'm coming from.
Yes,
And the concern that I have. So perhaps you could explain to me, is there, or what is the arrangement insofar as the investigating officer is concerned and communication with the legal teams? Is there an order there, or what regulates that? Or is there nothing that really hampers that aspect?
Should I respond?
Yes, please.
Okay. Firstly, before I can respond to the communication, I am Colonel Khipa, the Commander for Crime Against the State. That is working under Serious Organized Crime Investigation, which is one of the units within the Directorate for Priority Crime Investigation, meaning DPCI. My duties is to lead we call it CATS, the Crime Against State. And just to take you back, in 2019, when we started the TRC cases, I was still a commander at that time. We were having 3 members at that time, all were from organized crime. But after we said this is a very serious matter, investigating TRC cases, meaning the old cases, we need more human power or manpower. Fortunately, our principals, meaning DPCI and NPA, our stakeholders within investigations, the manpower was added. And then we were 3, then we managed to get 8 that will be busy investigating TRC cases. We were happy. Thereafter, we were resourced by vehicles from our general. Firstly, it was 2 vehicles, then 4 from our head office. In that period, we were having meetings with our head office, we were having meetings with NPA. Then there was a time when we were introduced to Human Rights Commission representative who was former brigadier for Scorpions or for SAPS, because Scorpions were disbanded to SAPS, Brigadier Marion. Fortunately, we knew each other at that time. Then when we visited him, believe that he first came to East London to share information. That was the main purpose, what he has at that time. And then we continued to have a good working relationship with him, giving us all necessary information. We end up have a long meeting at Kokstad. I think it was 2020 at that time, because we started these TRC cases in 2019. Thereafter, we kept communicating with former Brigadier Mario. Then my commander, who was Brigadier Govender, he got promoted. Then I have to command the entire organized crime. At that time, I had someone who was very experienced, Colonel Dweber, and he catch up quickly with these cases of TRC. Colonel Dweber was reporting to me at that time, because I have to oversee the entire province on serious organized crime matters and also TRC matters. Then he was reporting to me about the progress and so on. But when he was attending the meetings, Colonel Dweber, sometimes I was part of those meetings. And at that time, the working relationship with Human Rights Commission was good. And coming to this investigation of Highgate, we said it must be done by Captain Peterson. We supported him fully, meaning fully when he was doing trips to Cape Town, to Gauteng, the entire country. We made sure that he's getting a vehicle. He's getting someone that will go with him. You know, here, my honor, at SAPS, it's important to when someone is having a trip or is going for investigation, he or she must have a partner. You can't go alone when you are doing investigations. There's a lot of risks when you are doing investigations. Sometimes you will be in risk of get ambushed. You will be in risk of being a victim, or someone may say you harassed him or her. Then if there's someone that can cover you to say, no, this is what happened. Those are the reasons. And secondly, when you interview someone, whether it's a victim, whether it's a suspect, it's important to have a second person to assist you in terms of questioning, to obtain a statement. You can't just go alone. And what else should I mention? Or in terms of working relationship with human rights, we kept communicating with former brigadier. But now, as the investigation goes on, because firstly, we started this docket from nowhere. There was no docket, but we were knocking to all the avenues that can assist And Brigadier Marion was the one sometimes that say, there's a person of interest. Can you go and then obtain whether or interview? We were in full of that until we shaped our docket. And when we shaped this docket, we were working close with NPA. NPA is playing a significant role to our investigations because there's this term that we call PGI. It's a prosecuting guiding investigation. And we know that they are the ones that are taking the docket to court without a relationship or working relationship with NPA will mess the investigation sometimes. But if we have NPA, it is when we will have a solid case. And we see that there will be a challenge. If we say we'll be feeding, NPA will be feeding Human Rights Commission. Therefore, if Human Rights needs anything from our investigations, they must go through our prosecutors, or else they must go through our provincial head, which is General Wayne. That was the stand that we took. But in terms of getting advices from them, we said it's well, we welcome them. I don't see now, my honor, any challenge to say there was a problem between investigator and human rights. But the channels of communication is just, they must start from our prosecutors or from NPA if they need anything from us without any challenges or disputes or whatever that may be a challenge. I don't see any challenge, my honor.
Yes, I understand. I understand the broad picture. Now, just coming specifically to this matter, where I need, as I tried to explain earlier, I need things to be done, information to be followed up, needs to be looked at as the process unfolds before me. This is a rapidly unfolding process, so there has to be continuous communication and interaction. So what happens now specifically, just to take it out of the big picture of the TRC cases, as far as the inquest is concerned, what happens is that I would give a directive to whoever, often to both legal teams at the same time, at times because of the particular circumstances to one or the other of the legal teams, for matters to be followed up and for feedback to be channeled back to me. So my concern was a more focused one, more limited concern, because in order for my process here, this inquest to run smoothly, there can't be any hamper or restriction in communication between me and them, between them and whoever they might deal with, and they often deal with the investigating officer, who is actually almost on a full-time basis assisting this process at the moment. Yeah, I know it comes at some price, because this is not the only matter that he's got. In fact, he's explained that to me, that he's got a lot of other matters as well that he must attend to at the same time. But I appreciate his effort because he is at the disposal of the court while this process is unfolding, and I never had any issue around the request that I conveyed to the officers of the court for those to be dealt with, and for very prompt feedback to come from there. It's worked without any problem up to now. So my concern is just limited to this process and to communication between these officers of the court, and particularly Captain Peterson, because he plays such an important role on the ground.
Yes. Yes, sir.
So, perhaps what I need from you is an assurance. You might have given it already, but I'm going to be very specific, more specific now, so that we can all hear it here. That insofar as that communication, that existing channel of communication, where if I have a request, I can direct it directly to Captain Peterson. I can order him to do things.
Yes, sir.
Right, if I want to, but I don't want to. We want to work on that basis. We are all working together. There's no sides here. All of these people who are involved here are seeking one thing. They're trying to get to the bottom of what happened. So in a sense, they're all in the same team, as it were.
Yes,
Right, so the assurance that I want, and also so that everybody knows what the position is that there is nothing that hampers the process up to now. So there has been this free flow of communication and the fact that I am at liberty to depend on them if I need something, to attend to it. And in all of the instances where this happened in this case, they've been able to feed the response back to me quite promptly, and has been of tremendous assistance to this process. All right?
Yes, sir.
So I just wanted that assurance that there is nothing that is hampering, restricting, stopping that present free communication that's going on in order to assist this process. Just for the purposes of this particular process, I understand the big picture, the TRC process, and I can understand that. Just for my purposes here today, that's the assurance that I thought I should seek from you, so that everybody knows that there is no problem with that. Are you able to confirm that?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So that cooperation that I have had up to now, there's nothing that, there's no reason that should be interfered with. And there's nothing that stops Captain Peterson from doing his work as is channeled to him via the officers of the court from the court itself. Will you confirm that?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Those were the things that were of concern to me. As I said earlier, I had the feeling yesterday when I listened to it, it might just be a bit of a misunderstanding somewhere, because I couldn't myself think of any reason why there should be a difficulty with the process that we have in this particular matter. But I thought that you are the best person to come and say that to us, so that we know we can have peace of mind that as far as this process is concerned, it will run smoothly as it has been running up to now. You understand that?
Yes, sir. Yes.
All right. I'm just going to hear if any of the parties wanted to ask something, just link to this aspect, because that's all I ask you to come. I don't want to take too much of your time. I know there's a lot of things to be done. So
Yes.
I appreciate that you've come, so I don't want to detain you unnecessarily. But I will just hear from them if there's anything that I might have omitted to raise that should be raised. Mr. Vaughn?
We do have some follow-up questions for the purposes of clarity, so that we all go into the same page.
Mr. Vaughn is leading the legal team for the families and survivors.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Keeper, thanks for making the time to come to court and to explain. We appreciate it. Just to let you know, we have a very productive relationship with the investigating officer, and if we're allowed to pursue that relationship, we might end up cracking this case. We have provided certain leads to the investigating officer. We had a meeting with the full team, prosecutors and Captain Peterson, on the 7th of February, which was the last day of the last hearing. We had run into certain dead ends in this case. We felt it was important to pursue new leads, and in particular during the recess in between the two hearings. So we handed over information, all the materials we could lay our hands on, including lists of individuals we regarded as persons of interest.
Yes.
And then we simply didn't hear back. When we hadn't heard back on the 12th of March, we had attempted phone calls. Those phone calls were not taken. We then wrote letters from the 12th of March, and then there were several letters subsequent to that. And we got no response. We've been advised that our NPA colleagues were in court and very busy with other matters, that they couldn't respond to us. Then subsequently we heard that Captain Peterson was instructed not to communicate with us. Otherwise he would have. So we were only able to learn about the progress in the investigations and the challenges that he's facing yesterday afternoon after court. But you'll understand, although we welcome that opportunity, but it's a bit late. It should have happened during the break. So if he ran into issues, we've been investigating these kinds of matters for a long time. We also have information and contacts. We also do tracing reports, credit checks and the like. But we need to hear, what is it that the investigating officer has issues with or can't obtain, and then we try to help. But we can't do it if nobody communicates with us. Now, I've been doing Inquest since the early 90s, and this is the first time that I've heard of an instruction that an investigating officer mustn't communicate with legal representatives or the complainants, that we have to go through the prosecutors. Or I also heard you say we have to go through General is it Ngwenya?
Ngwenya, yes.
Okay. Would you not agree with me that is highly inefficient and slow and cumbersome of doing things, that we have to go through this torturous route? When normally speaking, the normal course, because he's a police officer, he's a civil servant, and he's meant to assist members of the public and their representatives. Do you not agree that that is a very cumbersome way of doing things? It slows things down. I'm asking, do you agree with me?
Should I respond?
Yes, please.
I fully support you, but as my owner have indicated that maybe there was misunderstanding. Therefore, for me, I would like to suggest that it's important to talk or to communicate, let I put it that way, with our prosecutors. Your involvement is very important to these cases of us. but we need to communicate, even us, through NPA to make it easy, rather than writing to General Way, to the IO, straight to NPA. Then NPA will guide us on that kind of information. I don't see any problem of what you are saying. Your involvement is very crucial, and it's important to investigate these cases.
Yes, perhaps I can also explain, Colonel, and Mr. Vaughn will confirm that, is that whatever happens in terms of communication, all these parties are on board. So if something goes somewhere, the APA advocates are operating,
Yes.
so everybody's on board.
Yes.
So I understand what you're referring to. Obviously, you can't have a situation where there's just a one line of one channel of communication there. The other party was equally important in the process is in the dark. So everybody must be on the same page.
Yes, Your
And we are 100% with that. And I would want to see that happening, and it has been happening up to now. I don't think there's any instance, and I think Mr. Ronnie and the advocates for the NPA will confirm that, where something happened where only one of those two parties have been aware of it, the other party has been deliberately left out of the loop, as it were. So they've all been on board, all of them. Perhaps that will give you a little bit more better insurance that that is not happening. It's not a situation which is behind the back of anybody.
Yes, Your
All right, you
Yes.
understand?
Yes.
Okay.
I can confirm that, my lord. The meeting we spoke about, where everybody was present. When we do email communications, we don't just communicate with the captain. Everybody here is copied. And it's important that everybody's on the same page, because as his lordship said, we're after the same truth here. And DPP Madolo, at the beginning of this case, said, this is not an adversarial type of situation. We're all seeking the same truth. We're all on the same side. We can all bring something to the table to get to the truth. From our side, though, having to communicate, say, through the NPA, and then in turn communicate to the captain, who then communicates back to the NPA, and then back to us, that doesn't work. And in the 30 years I've been doing Inquest, I've never heard of that before. And, a prohibition on an investigating officer, be it an inquest or otherwise, not to talk to a complainant or the legal representatives of the complainants could be downright illegal, actually, obstructive. I don't want to go down that road, but we see it in that kind of light. And as I mentioned, on this case, where we were following up 2 leads on 2 groups of suspects, and we wanted to get an idea of what was happening, because this is, in theory at least, the last week of hearings. Although fortunately, his lordship had said that he will keep the inquest open until all the leads have been exhausted. But we were hoping that we could maybe resolve those lines of inquiry by the end of this week. Now, as I understand the prior arrangement, we would have to wait for the NPA to respond to us. But they were tied up with other matters. They couldn't respond, and they didn't. And he was under instruction not to respond to us. So you can see how that is just a complete mess, and that doesn't work. So, by way of clarity, my understanding is that that arrangement is no longer in place. The captain is free to talk to us whenever he deems it appropriate. Of course, if it's electronic, everybody gets copied. If some individuals are not around, that information is then passed on subsequently. I mean, there will be times, of course. For example, the captain needed to take one of the family members, on a trip to see somebody. We try to help facilitate that and help him set it up. For things like that, it's obviously not necessary to involve the entire group to, make arrangements of, what time to meet and transportation and so on. And the captain, if he can't find a document, or if he can't remember the name of a witness or something, why shouldn't he say, reach out perhaps to Brigadier Marion or my team and say, look, can you help me with this? So we want, I understand you've already given His Lordship the assurance that the captain is in fact free to operate in the normal course. Am I right in saying that he's no longer constrained as he was prior to today?
On the part of Captain Peterson, whatever document that you are sending him, CCNPA, as the commander of Captain Peterson, please also CC me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Then
I don't want to make this matter a big problem. The matter of communication is good if we can agree that DPCI, yourself, and NPA, we agreed that it's not a problem, but maybe it's a misunderstanding between us. But I don't want to be a spokesperson of NPA now, Johan. Maybe one of our prosecutors will come and rep in terms of their communication. But for us, whatever is sent to Captain Peterson, I must be also CC.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is a reasonable position as far as I'm concerned, so
Yes.
everybody should be in the loop.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think there's any problem with that. In fact, I think that the endeavour has always been to have it that way. As Mr. Vaughn had said, Advocate Maduro had indicated at the very start of the proceedings. We're on sides here. We're all working together. We're working for the same result. And it's been like that up to now. So as you say, it's not something to complicate anything. Perhaps there's a bit of a misunderstanding, but otherwise, I mean, I think we all agree. Everybody should be in the loop, as it were. And I think then everybody will be happy that this process will actually have a chance of succeeding.
Yes.
Indeed, Colonel, we're also doing cases in Gauteng and Western Cape and elsewhere. This is not an issue in those provinces, not an issue at all. We have free and easy access to investigating officers. Obviously, some are more communicative than others, and not everybody is the same. Our colleagues from the NPA yesterday gave us an assurance. They said they would never issue such an instruction. They don't want to play the gatekeeping role. They gave us that assurance, and we accept their word. And when you say it isn't a problem, well, we don't want problems going forward, but I can tell you it was a big problem for us up until today, because we ended up wasting a huge chunk of time. And these inquiries are massively expensive for the public purse, but also for our side. We can't rely on the public purse, and that's why we want to exploit and make use of all the available time we have. And so from our perspective, because we were denied access to Captain Peterson during this intervening period of 6-7 weeks, we believe we lost valuable time. We could have used that time to pursue serious leads in this matter, which can now only be pursued going forward. So it has been a problem, but we're hoping that going forward it's not going to be a problem. And finally, from our side, we don't want to see the investigating officer getting into trouble for simply doing his job in the normal course. And that's an assurance we would also like to hear from you.
Your Honor, as I have indicated, there is no problem. But what I want to raise with Advocate Vaughn, please do not instruct the a member, write the letter to us. It is where we are planning our investigations. But if he's getting, I'm not saying we're instructing him, any instructions to say go and now there will be some challenges, but maybe we need to sit down, have a meeting, all of us outside the court, and solve the problem.
Well, we're hoping that after your assurances today, there are no problems. And of course, we never give instructions. What authority do we have to give a public servant, a police officer, or a prosecutor an instruction? We don't have that authority. All we can do is offer support, make suggestions, make requests. But at the end of the day, it's for the investigating officer and yourselves as his superiors to make that decision. Do you agree with the suggestion or not? Oftentimes we have similar suggestions we provide to the prosecutors, but we can't tell them what to do because we're just private complainants and lawyers. We can make submissions. The decisions are not ours. We never give instructions. I hope you understand that.
We are on the same page.
Yes.
Yes.
As I've said, I had the impression that perhaps it's just a matter of
Yes.
clarifying things so that we know where we are. I didn't see any problem, like you say,
Yes, Your Honor.
with the situation.
No further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Vaughn. Can I just ask if there's any other issue that we might have missed in the process?
I just want to get the clarity that my lawyer also sought. It is correct that yesterday, kind of after the adjournment, we did meet with Captain Peterson where we discussed what was outstanding, and there was only basically one issue which Captain Peterson indicated because of time constraint and his other investigation he was unable to attend. With regards to what you indicated, and correct me if I'm wrong, your indication is that you're not asking the family's attorneys to send the instructions or send the request to us and then us forwarding it to Captain Peterson. It's when it's sent to Captain Peterson, we must be included in that email as it has been done at home. Is that correct? You want us to be copied in any request that's sent to Captain Peterson?
To answer that question, I think Advocate Vaughn, as maybe I was not clear when I was saying you are the leaders on our investigations. It's important to copy you or to send whatever to you as NPA or prosecutors. Thereafter, copy us with Captain Peterson. I'm not good in technology. Maybe I'm saying something that is the same on what you are saying. I'm not a guru on computer.
Don't worry about it. We've got the same problem.
But what I'm trying to say, the communication should reach everyone. But you are the leaders of our investigations or the guiding stakeholder in terms of investigation.
So you want all the parties to be involved in the communication?
And the communication part led by you.
Yes. And in a like my lord has explained, as Roger explained, this is not a normal criminal investigation.
Yes.
But in your normal criminal investigation, even when a complainant reaches out to an investigating officer, most of our cases, our criminal cases, complainants are not represented. But even when they are represented, any suggestions or offers made by the complainant, is it correct that before the RU investigates that is first discussed with the prosecutor involved in the case to determine if that actually should be investigated, if it's relevant, and the importance thereof?
That's what I was trying to say. Oh, that's what I'm saying.
So,
Yes.
And like you said, we've had our discussions yesterday. We've now gone forward with Captain Peterson. We know exactly what we require in respect of this specific matter, what's still outstanding, and we've set with our colleagues, and we mapped the way forward how we can. The one issue is outstanding, which, like I said, Captain Peterson indicated, unfortunately due to work commitments, we were unable to attend to, and we're hoping to have that resolved. But that, as far as my understanding, is probably the only issue, two issues that we have to resolve. So there is communication at the moment between the various parties.
Okay. But in terms of a commitment of Captain Peterson, I want to bring it here that we prioritize these cases. Whatever keeps him busy, we park that one. We must start with the TRC cases, meaning the Highgate. Yes.
That's all.
Yes, well, thank you very much for that assurance, Colonel. Of course, our discussion here this morning is to do with this inquest.
Yes.
So everything that we've said applies to what we're doing here. But I do understand the bigger picture, and speaking for myself, I'm happy that you have come and you have actually explained and confirmed my thoughts in the evening. So I don't foresee any issue going forward. So I must thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I'll excuse you to get to the other pressing matters.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Damadur.
My Lord, I see it's 11:10.
Oh, sorry. All right.
We're going to take the seats.
Let's do that. Then you can rearrange it. You take the movie. Always possible. Choose.
My Lord, thank you. I would like to call our next witness, who is Captain Calvin Cecil Swartboy.
Calvin Cecil Swartboy. Thank you, Mr. Captain Swartboy.
Sir, can you state your full names in the court?
Calvin Cecil Swartboy, my Lord.
If you have any objection in taking that,
No, my Lord.
do you consider that finding in your conscience?
Yes, my Lord.
Do you swear that the evidence will give in front of the court will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, my Lord.
Please raise your right hand and say so help you God.
So help me God.
Thank you very much. You may be seated, Captain. The Swartboy,
Swartboy, yeah.
double O-I.
W-O-I.
Got it, thank you. Ms. Bosman.
My Lord, I have raised this with my learned friends, and they have agreed that they will not take issue with the fact that a copy of the affidavit be utilized instead of the original. We have unfortunately not been able to locate the original. If I can hand this to... Sorry.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm just handing a document to you. Captain, sorry. Thank you. If you could just look at this document, and particularly the signatures on the bottom right of the page, as well as the signature on the end, at the end of the document.
That is right, Your Worship. It is my signature of my Lord. That is my signature.
Thank you. And is this the affidavit which you prepared in respect of this matter?
That is correct, my lord.
Thank you, my lord. If I could have that affidavit handed in as exhibit, I think X.
X.
Yes, please.
Very well. Yes, affidavit of Captain Mphahlele is entered as exhibit X.
Thank you, my lord. Captain Mphahlele, could you please begin by giving us a brief history of your experience at the SAPS?
That's correct, my lord. I am a captain in the South African Police Service, my lord. And I'm currently working at the East London LCRC, where I'm employed as a group officer, a criminalistic expert, a fingerprint expert, a crime scene investigator, a laboratory technician, and an official police photographer, a video camera operator, draftsman, and forensic field worker.
Jack of all trades.
You must say so, Your Worship. There were a few edits recently.
Okay.
Your Worship, presently I have 34 years within the South African Police Service and 26 years and 4 months within the local criminal record centre or the division of forensics. I have completed a 3-year in-service criminalistic expert training program from 1998 up until 2000. As presented by the Criminal Record Centre and have been granted fingerprint expert status on the 7th of April in 2000. I have successfully completed the following training courses and programs. A basic scene proficiency course in 1999, the 13th of April in theoretical and practical aspects of crime scene investigations. I've also completed a detective course in 1997, presented at SAPS in Mphahlele, School of Academy. I also did the Advanced Scene Proficiency course in 2000, up until the 28th of July in 2000 in the theoretical and practical aspects of crime scene investigation. I did a video camera course in 1999-06-25 at the Eastern Cape CRC training section. Advanced courses in forensic field 1999-07-16 at the CRC training section and the forensic science laboratory in Pretoria, which include biology, ballistics, fire scenes, firearm related chemistry, metallurgical investigation courses. My fingerprint course was done in 1999 at the Eastern Cape CRC training section. Criminalistic expert status at the Eastern Cape CRC training section in 2000, fire investigation program on the 1st of the 9th in 2000 at the Faculty of Applied Science, Port Elizabeth Technikon, metamorpho operators course in 1607-2002 at the ECCRC training section, forensic fingerprint laboratory technicians course on the 1st of the 4th, 2004. Computer-aided drawing, we call it a CAD course in 2008, 05, 09 at the CRC training section in Pretoria. Advanced APHIS metamorpho course in 2003 at the CRC training section in Pretoria, which was presented by Vaughn from France. I also did the advanced digital photography course in 2012 in Pretoria, which was presented by Dave Campbell from the United States of America State Police. I've done a DNA course in 2010 at the CRC training section in Pretoria. Done a junior management course in 2011 at PAL Academy in PAL. Digital lip scan course in 2012 in Port Elizabeth. Effective speaking Pretoria in 2013. I've completed my bachelor's degree in forensic investigation from UNISA in 2018, and then now recently I've done a discipline management course at the Bishop Academy in 2024.
Thank you, Captain. That is an extensive CV, and I think it's safe to assume that you are, in fact, an expert when it comes to fingerprints.
That is correct, my lord.
Thank you. Captain, were you involved in the fingerprint lifting in the Highgate Hotel massacre?
No, Your Worship, I wasn't, my lord. I wasn't involved in this meeting, my lord.
And how did it come about that you have now been called to deal with the matter?
This year, my lord, the 27th of January, I was requested by Colonel Demoy, who is currently my commander at East London LCRC, to search for fingerprint exhibits with the IR number 2120/1993 in our archives. I then went to the archives, my lord, and I asked the assistance of one of the ladies at our office, Mrs. Botha, to assist me in searching for these fingerprint exhibits in the archives. Because all these exhibits, my lord, were lying on top of each other in boxes, because we have moved offices from Fleet Street to Oxford Street, from Oxford Street to where the office is currently.
Thank you. I would like to just hand up to you a bundle of documents. If you could have a look at those. Are those in fact the documents which you found which were relevant to this matter?
That is correct, my lord. That is correct.
Thank you. My lord, if I could seek you to hand this up as Exhibit Y. I have provided copies to my learned friends.
Captain, is this the result of the search that you did?
Yes, my lord, I have the originals in my possession here, my lord. I don't know if I must give in the originals or the copies, or because I need to maybe testify on the originals.
Yeah, I don't really think we need to use the search.
My lord, there might be if we turn to the second page,
Yes.
and the third page, those are not redacted, but they are not copyable.
Oh,
if
I
I can put it
understand.
that way.
Yes.
So those originals,
Yeah.
I'm sure the captain will then have to produce.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
All right. Once you had identified these documents as being related to the Highgate Hotel massacre, what investigation did you do, or comparison did you do in respect of these fingerprints?
The moment I found, or we found these full-length envelope, my lord, we could actually first notice that it was in a very deteriorating state, as you can see on the original. And what we then, we made sure that it is the right one, and then I looked on the full-length envelope. We call this the full-length envelope, where you put in the full-length. We see that there was an OR number that is 2120/93, and then it shows you the fingerprint expert is a sergeant and not dear. And then it also says the number of pieces is 7, and then you will see there that it's checked by, it's normally the person that will do the 24-hour inspection. And then right in front of it you will see that there is Highgate Hotel, and then there is a date on it, Your Worship, my lord. I then removed the full-length pieces that were in there, my lord, and I found 7 pieces of full-length that was in the full-length envelope. And the moment I opened it up, my lord, and then I noticed that there was no fingerprints on the full-length itself. Usually black full-length is used. If my lord can just bear with me, the court can bear with me, I will sometimes deviate from my statement here, but the things that I'm talking is related to what is in my statement. Black full-length is used to lift, is usually used when aluminium powder is applied to a surface. And in this instance, aluminium powder was used on this specific surface, And as time goes on, my lord, I've noticed that the aluminium powder has now disappeared. I looked at the back of the Mphahlele, and in those years, my lord, we usually use what we call a Mphahlele pen that you write on the back of the Mphahlele. Some of the writing, my lord, is visible on the back of the Mphahlele. And it will tell you on the Mphahlele, it's Mphahlele number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So all the Mphahlele pieces are here, my lord, with the IR number and everything, the signature, and then even the date that it was lifted and the time that it was lifted is still visible on the back of the Mphahlele, my lord.
Thank you,
That is
Captain.
in line with what is noted on the envelope, that there's 7
That is correct, my lord.
Mphahlele pieces.
That is correct, my lord.
My Lord, if I could just refer you to page 4 and 5 of Exhibit Y. That is what is displayed on the back of those Mphahlele samples.
Oh. So this is page 4. Yes.
Could you please explain to the court how the Mphahlele is used?
Mphahlele is used, my lord. It has, this is the Mphahlele, and then on top of the Mphahlele you have like a transparent plastic cover that can see through the black side of the Mphahlele. So when you lift the fingerprint, my lord, you first take off the plastic cover, and then you hold the plastic cover, and as you can see, it is cut here on the side of the Mphahlele. The reason for that cut is, so when you place back the plastic cover, you place it back in its original position, that you don't turn it around. So then you will hold it. Sometimes it's a bit difficult, if it's windy, you will struggle a bit. But we manage as you grow older in this environment. You place it then onto the area, you like rub it a little bit, and then it will then lift what is produced or seen, that we call it the latent print. Remember the latent print?
You
Yeah.
now already
Powder.
throw the aluminium powder on
That is correct, yeah.
surface.
That is correct,
Now
yeah.
you press the
The
Mphahlele
Mphahlele upon-
after you took off the plastic.
That is correct, my lord. So once that is there, and then you must now be very careful to, that you don't get a lot of bubbles onto the Mphahlele. And it is a certain method that you practice. You don't just someone get it. And with years, I do it somewhat quick now.
Put your
Then-
cover on your cell phone.
Yes, really, my lord. So then once that is there, and then you will then write at that moment, you won't have the LCRC number, or that time it was called an OR or an IR number. It's now called an LCRC. You won't have it in your possession as yet. You will then later, sometimes when you go to the scene and if it's at night, you won't have a case number, you won't have an IR number, because the case number must be linked to the IR number, which means the LCRC number. So once that is now there, and you get back to the office, and then you register it according to the case number, and then you will fill in now the IR number, in this case, which is 2120/1993. And on the scene of crime, you will then fill in here where you lifted the specific Mphahlele.
Is it now at the back?
Yes, my lord, at the back.
At the back.
At the back, my lord. So that is how the process goes of lifting a Mphahlele. You put then all the pieces that you have, you put it inside the Mphahlele envelope, and you write the amount of Mphalelenes that you have lifted from the specific scene of crime, my lord.
And Captain, could you possibly explain what Mphahlele is?
It is now, look, Mphahlele is basically, it's made of a type of a gel. It consists of different chemicals that is inside the gel. If I can remember a few, there's sugar in here even. There's a little bit of water, there's gelatin, there's agar, things like that that is in there, and some other products that is in, giving it a very jelly type. If you actually take this off, you will actually see it's a little bit jelly like my lord. And then it has the adhesive side towards it on the top of it to be able to lift up fingerprints. Not even fingerprints, we also use it to collect shoe prints, or even in the olden days when we used to use it to collect hair from certain areas also. You will use either the black, or you will, depending on the surface, or you will use the white flint, my lord.
Full of nucleus.
That is correct, that is correct, my lord.
And with age, has the would you have expected this deterioration?
My lord, when I realized that this has happened, and I thought to myself that maybe this is just a unique case, that the aluminium powder now, the fingerprints that was on here, has disappeared. And what I did then, I went back to the archives in the year of 1993, and then what I did is I searched for numbers that were near 1993, and I found 2291 of 1993, 2124 of 1993, 2268 of 1993, 2288 of 1993. To check on it, my lord. So if you can hear those numbers, it is numbers after 21. And then I said, okay, I've got those. Let me just go back a bit and see if there is numbers that is before those ones. Let me just include also 2268, my lord. And then I just went in reverse there to see if it's effect that is after and before this incident. And I draw 2084 of 93, 2053, 1900 of 93, 1957 of 93, 2069 of 1993, and then I found exactly the same result on all of them. I can take each one out and show the court, my lord, if the court wants me to show it. But on the fingerprints that were lifted on scenes before this one, we have all these results, and we can see, my lord, that how these Mphahlele and how the envelopes look like. It's very, 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 very wet, and it is very, 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 very sticky. I'll just take one out from the 22. I'm not even looking, not David Copperfield, my lord, but just taking it out. Look, there is nothing on, my lord.
So there's no imprint.
Nothing, my
These
lord.
are those ones as well.
As well, my lord, and that is how I came to my understanding that all the prints lifted in 1993, maybe in 94, 95 onwards, I haven't done went so far, but it is a possibility, my lord. But I only concentrated on this, that the fingerprints on the Mphahlele is lost, if I can say so. Not the actual Mphahlele is lost, but the fingerprints that were on the Mphahlele is now being, if I can use this word, I hope it is the right one, it is now sucked in to the Mphahlele and not visible to the naked eye anymore, my lord. My lord, inside the Mphahlele envelopes, I then opened it up because I know we used to call it, we used to work in the dark room. I joined the LCRC in 1998, and these methods were still used. We didn't photograph fingerprints or use other methods to lift fingerprints from scene of crimes. So what you will do is these Mphahlele will then be photographed in the dark room. We had a very, 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 very big machine. We call it the hamburger machine because you have to close it like, and it looks like a hamburger. And we used to call it a hamburger. Not a lot of people like to work in the dark room because the paper where the fingerprint is photographed on, sometimes you forget to close the box, the photo box, and when you switch on the lid, that whole 100 papers are now exposed and not be able to use. The paper that I'm referring to was the paper or the photograph prints of the actual prints that were on these Mphahlele were inside, my lord, in the Mphahlele envelope. And from those, my lord, it was actually very, very, very difficult. I actually found 1 or 2 or 3 that we could actually use to scan, my lord, onto APLAs, to make sure that we cannot get maybe a person of interest or link a person of interest to this. These are the original ones that came out of the Mphahlele envelope, and that is why I put it like this, my lord, because I'm just afraid if my Lord can see, I can just show you on one or two of them. There is now like a white spot there. There's like a white spot here.
My Lord, if I can just, sorry, assist there. If we refer to the bundle Exhibit Y, the photographs which are now being shown are on page 7.
Yes, there are 5 photographs on this page.
Yeah, and then there's another page where there are 2, my Lord.
Another page with 2, let's see. It's the next page, which is the 8, I suppose.
That is correct. I have the originals here, my Lord.
All right. So these are the photographs that were taken of the Mphahlele
Of the Mphahlele at that time.
at that time.
My Lord. So we use these ones, and I've checked it under the magnifying glass, and I could see we can actually scan these ones onto the APHIS. So this was scanned onto APHIS, my Lord. And
sorry, could you just explain briefly what APHIS is?
APHIS is your automated fingerprint identification system. Now, how APHIS, I don't know if I explain the working of the APHIS or it is, okay, let me explain, my Lord. APHIS is basically where all convicted people's fingerprints are on, and people that have recently been arrested. How the system works is as follows. For instance, over the weekend that has passed now, a few people were arrested. So their fingerprints are being taken. Once their fingerprints are taken, the detective will then bring it to our section, which we call the crim section. On the crim section, they will receive these fingerprints, and then they will scan it onto the crim system. The crim system then communicates with the APHIS system. It goes through. When it gets through to the APHIS, it comes through as a quality. Now, what it means of a quality, it checks the condition of the fingerprints. Is there enough minutiae on the fingerprints? Is the fingerprints taken very good? Must their fingerprints go back to be retaken? Or can we keep the fingerprints on the system or not?
Sorry, this process, are you now referring to the digital process that is now taking place?
Yes, that is communicating now with APHIS. So once it is on the system, my Lord, it is now lying there. It has a fingerprint number, and that fingerprint number is then linked to a name. Then the APHIS expert will then do the quality on it, and then it will give the expert a few other candidates that has got maybe the same type of fingerprints or whatever. But then you will search through it, my Lord. And once you search through it, and then you will say, okay, here is a fingerprint that is matching the fingerprint that came in over the weekend. So it means that person is already on the record. Then the system will choose the best fingerprint that the expert has chosen and keep that information then on the APHIS system. So the fingerprints will then lie there on the system. So what happens then, my Lord? Is when the crime is committed, and like now in these in modern days now, when APHIS was implemented, when a crime is committed, we will then bring a digital form of a fingerprint, like with fluorescent powder, or the method that people are using now. We don't even use Mphahlele anymore. They use Scotch tape method. They will bring the Scotch tape in, same method will be applied, written up and everything, and then that Scotch tape will then be scanned into APHIS. And the APHIS expert will then look for possible candidates. Sometimes you can go up to 15, 20. It depends on yourself as a person. Once you have launched the crime scene print onto the system then runs through all the fingerprints that is on APHIS. And once it runs through, sometimes if the system is slow, it can take 2 days, sometimes 3 days, sometimes if you're lucky, it takes a day. So once it comes back, my Lord, and then it gives you now that 15 candidates that you have chosen, and then you have to choose now and make sure that the crime scene print match one of the 15 candidates. And once you get to that confident that no, this is now really the person that you are looking for, you declare it on APHIS as a hit. The hit means that you have identified now a person. So what the fingerprint just shows you there, my Lord, it just gives you a fingerprint number and it gives you a fingerprint. So then, once you have the fingerprint number, you go back to the CRIM system and you ask them, can you print me what we call it a CV? That is now the information, because you don't know who's this person. We never know a suspect or a person of interest, Your Worship, up until we see the person in court again. We only know it by fingerprints. So then, the name will, the CRIM people will then print us a CV, and once we receive the CV, the information on that CV will give us a name, it will give us a day, the person was born, address, and then it will also give other information, like for instance, cases arrested or previous convictions, is the person fingerprints legally on the system and all that. Once you have that information, now identification docket is then compiled. Once the identification docket is compiled, it goes to the identification manager and the identification overseer. And once they receive that, and then you as the identification manager must remember, my lord, APHIS is just a tool to assist the fingerprint experts. There are times when we will receive fingerprints where we will make a manual ID and not with the assistance of APHIS. So all yes, and still today, yeah, a court chart, what you call it. Yeah, we still do it, Your Worship. Oh. My lord. And we still do manual. So when you receive it back from APHIS, because APHIS is just a tool, you as the person are the expert. APHIS is just your tool that you use to speed up the process so that you can get to someone. Then you have to physically sit with the printout, the CV, and the fingerprints that is on the system. And then you will physically have to look yourself and make the identification yourself again.
So it's not 100% like digital, like match on each photograph?
It is 100%, but APHIS is just a tool to speed up the process. You see, my lord, in the olden days, we had a place which we will call a search room. Once we receive a SCP-76, it will come in with your 10 prints, your left palm and your right palm. And then it will have another 76. It's a green, we used to call it the green card. The green card, Your Worship, this one. Now the green card.
My lord, sorry, it's the last page in Exhibit Y.
That is your SCP-309, yeah.
So this was the old system?
That is now the old system that I'm talking about, my lord.
So these are now the print of the suspect, or
that is
see a person that is arrested or something?
Arrested, that is correct. And on it will be like a reference number, a case number, a name and date of birth and certain other features. Now on the fingerprints, not the 309, maybe the 76, yeah. We will then, as experts, we had a search room. We didn't have APHIS, we didn't have that luxury. We had a search room. So then we will file, according to Zymoxis, we will file the 10 print into the 10 print box. We will leave it there. We will see maybe it is Cambridge, it's London, or it's Kids Beach. We will file all East London's 10 prints in one box. And then you have your palm prints. We will then identify the palm prints according to what type of a palm print is. And then we will file it according to the type of palm print, the left one and the right one. Now all of those are filed under East London. The only ones that are filed all together is the green one. And a lot of people up until today don't even understand that. We will cut out the green one, each one of that fingerprints, my lord. Yes, yeah, we'll cut out everyone. Yes, we'll cut out everyone. And that is what we call the single filing system. Now the single filing system is filed according to the pattern of the fingerprint. You can either say it's a UCO small, UCO medium, it's a double spiral, it's a single spiral. There's different types of fingerprints. Then you file it according to what that fingerprint is. So you get to a crime scene. Can I must say this, my lord? We old experts. We used to, my lord, when we get to a crime scene and you powder, and maybe the detective is there, we look at the fingerprint and we tell the person, I know who's this. Because we have memorized through the singles fingerprints that is outstanding and have certain markings and all that. We had a person that we all already know. If you just come to the crime scene, we know already who it is. So, once a death search is now been done, my lord, you get now fingerprints and the detective say, listen here, we have a person of interest. Immediately you will go either to your 10 prints, you go to your palm prints, or you go to your single file, and then you will go and draw. Now what you will draw then, my lord, you will draw this prints that were photographed from the original print, because this one, the original Mphahlele is now in filing. So we draw this one, and then we will then try and make a manual identification.
Is that what you had to do in this case?
This is what I had to do in this case, my lord.
So, sorry, Captain, so you say the green card, SAP 309,
Yes, my lord.
this is the one that you cut up into individual prints?
That is correct, my lord. We call it singles.
Singles.
That is right.
So you turn this into singles. Is there another one like this with 10 on?
Yes, my lord. The first one. It is on there, my lord.
My lord, the page preceding that one is an SAP 218 with the palm prints as well as the photograph as
The 76, my lord. It's also a greenish one.
76.
Yeah, the 76, yeah.
So also, so you keep, so the 76 you keep
Okay.
intact as it is?
As it is, my lord.
And the green one you cut up?
We cut up for singles, my lord.
And each one in a separate box?
In a separate, but according to its
According to the-
identifications, yeah.
All right, and what did you say about the stations, the police stations?
You like now, for instance, this is Cambridge Police Station, is London. There is Oxford, is London. You have a file for Cambridge, you have a file for Beacon Bay. So when suspects come in from Beacon Bay or East London, you will already know, let me go search there and see if that suspect is not lying there.
Thank you.
Right, my lord, what we first did in this instance, we then took these fingerprints and let it be scanned onto the APLA system. And when my lord can just look at the file that I compiled, we can just see this one here.
To see which one is that? Is it in here?
Page
It is there, my lord.
page 9. Page 9, my lord.
Sorry, my pages are not numbered there, so I should just number them. It'll be easier.
Apologies, my lord.
What did you say was that?
There's my lord. That's the one my lord is looking
What
at.
is the number? What's the number?
My mine is now not marked as a page. I think it's at page 9.
My lord, thank you for indulging me. It's actually page 8 of the bundle.
Oh, I see. So I was just worried I missed the 6. So that's actually 8.
Yes,
So
that's
the
correct.
previous two ones was 7 and 6.
Correct, my lord.
All right. All right. Then my numbers tally. So 8. And then 9 is this document. 10 is part of this letter or document. 11 is the SAP 75 or 6?
I think it's
76.
76.
My lord, that is the document which the expert testified is where they keep all the fingerprints together.
Yes, so that is Y11. And then Y12 is SAP 218.
Correct, my lord.
And Y13 SAP 218. And then I've got the green card. It should be 40. Does it coincide with yours, Mrs. Bosman?
My lord, that does coincide with my numbering.
Right, so, okay, so I'm going back to Y8 that you referred to, Captain.
That is correct, my lord. Thank you.
Let's go there.
These fingerprints were then scanned, my lord. If we look at on the left top side of the document, my lord, it's on my left, yeah, my left. Right there, my lord. Right here. Right there on top, my lord. It's
Yes.
very small numbers that is there.
Very long number.
Yes.
Next to a red X.
Yes, that's right, my lord. APHIS do require, my lord, we cannot put in 1993 2021. It requires that we have to have a month also. So we use the case number as a referred month. So as it was typed in, you will see, my lord, the last at the right at the last part is written 1993 05 2120, meaning it is the prints that is visible on the photograph cards that was scanned on APHIS. After it was scanned on APHIS, it came back, my lord, and there was no persons linked to the fingerprints that was scanned onto APHIS. Usually, my lord, I was only involved once in a case like that when I was working at the PECSI, where we couldn't identify the person that was burned out, but luckily we had a partial of a palm print, and we then applied to Home Affairs if we can then maybe see if there is fingerprints available on there of the person so we can identify the person.
Are they also digital?
They are also digital, my lord, but in this instance, when I contact the director, I send the email to ask for assistance, and I never got the email back, but then my commander, Colonel De Moy, contacted them, and they confirmed that they don't keep palm prints on their system, my lord. They only keep the fingerprints. So these that are on here, my lord, that is identifiable is palm prints and not fingerprints.
All of them?
My lord, I'm going to say the ones that were scanned because there are ones that you can see nothing on, my lord.
So Captain, let me just see now on Y8, are you referring to the 4 images in the center of the page?
Yes, my lord.
There are 4 images. Are those the ones that you could identify something on?
Yeah, my lord.
Some
That
print
is
on?
correct. That is correct, my lord.
But these were all palm prints?
Palm prints,
not
my lord.
fingerprints.
Not fingerprints. And already, my lord, I mean, if you see, we were busy with this in January and all that, and already, seeing that these are now exposed to a lot of sunlight and already starting to disappear on the original ones also. And what makes it worse, my lord, is...
On the original photograph?
Yeah. And you can see it starting to disappear, my lord. So what is happening here is these things are lying on top of each other. And it is very sticky, and the more sticky it becomes, it's what I wanted to show earlier on, the more the things are getting lost here.
Are they inside that envelope or what?
Yes, it's inside the envelope. I've placed it now for court purposes. I've made it like this for when I'm going to hand it in for court purposes, my lord.
Okay.
So, my lord, we went to Home Affairs. We couldn't get palm prints that are available on the suspect or on the system. So currently, my lord, at the current moment, the 4 palm prints that are scanned on the APHIS system is now hanging there on the APHIS system. Up until there will come fingerprints in that can link a person to this specific full link.
So, Captain, am I correct that you did run these through APHIS and there was no hit?
There was no hit, my lord.
So the APHIS data, how far back does it go?
Things were loaded onto APHIS once APHIS was implemented in 2000, my lord. So it will be readily available on APHIS, my lord.
So all of the available prints from from 2000 or what?
Yes, my lord, and back.
Oh, and
And
as
back.
well.
Yes, that's right, my lord.
How far back does it go?
My lord, I'm not 100% sure how far back it goes. That I cannot, I don't want to put myself in a predicament and say it goes back to so years, but I remember there were fingerprints scanned onto the system.
Yeah.
Remember the system also takes a certain amount and then it will then store and then take a certain amount and store, and sometimes it will delete certain of the, things. When a person is found not guilty, it has to be removed from the system.
Yeah. Would it, for example, go back, say, to 1993? 7 years earlier than 2000?
I can take that, Your Worship. I have to concur on that one, but they did scan the previous prints because there is no more a search room where the fingerprints were kept. So all those old fingerprints, they might have just scanned the fingerprints and the palm prints onto the system, my lord.
Okay. So can one accept that the fact that there was no heat on APHIS indicate that there was, even up to 1993, there wouldn't have been a similar print on the system?
That is correct, Your Worship. APHIS is very thoroughly, we've relied on it a very lot. For instance, my lord, the SCP-76 that I've received with the name
My lord, that's page 11.
The SCP-76 I received with the palm prints, the one that is handed in there, of Mphahlele Mama.
Yes.
I, my lord, myself, I'm going to be honest with you now, because I was under a lot of pressure to get into this matter. It was just thrown on my desk one morning. I sat for 3 days, my lord, just doing, to see if I can compare, because the reason for that, my lord, if I can explain to the court, a fingerprint, my lord, has got a small surface. It's got a very small surface. It's very small search area. But a palm print, and you must be a very good expert, very, very, very good, has got a very big area that you must search, my lord. And when you see a print like that, you must remember, my lord, some of these things are turning this way, some of them are turning up, and when you look with the naked eye, you say, no, it comes here. But when you look thoroughly and say, hey, you realize, hey, it's not coming there. You have to turn it. You have to go this way, this way. It can take you days sometimes on a palm print, because the area is very, very, very big. What makes it easier, my lord, is when a person brings in a crime scene print, and you can literally see the bottom part or the percussion area of the palm, and then you immediately know, I know where I can go now. But to just search, my lord, on something like this, it can either be a left hand, but it can also be a right hand lying like this. So you have to search very thoroughly. I searched thoroughly, my lord.
So you start with nothing?
You start with nothing, my lord.
All right.
And you work through it, I've worked through it. And once I work through it, I will then call in another expert to also have a look. And that expert was Captain Van Heerden, and we both, my lord, I must say it, we are the best at the office currently. And I can also concur, my lord, whilst I was sitting here in court, I just received the message from my commander, because we have to do tests to maintain your expertise as an expert. I've done a test we call it the TP test. I've done it last month. I've just received my results. I can show it to the court. I'm not boasting,
Yes,
but it was 100%, Your Worship.
Oh, yes.
Congratulations.
All right, well, that's remarkable.
So I've taken a lot of time, my lord, to make sure that the person, the fingerprints that were given, is not the person. That is basically my evidence for now, my lord.
Yes, this SAP-76
Yes, my lord.
of Mphahlele Mama, this is a 1993 matter, it seems.
That is correct, my lord.
Committed 1 May 1993. It seems,
My lord, this is this person was arrested in respect of this present matter,
yes,
but it was submitted by the investigating officer at that time. It was submitted for comparison at the time, but there were no there were no matches at that stage.
yes. But would this be on APHIS
It's now on APHIS, my lord.
now?
I can concur now, it's now on APHIS. If it was on APHIS previously, my lord, it would have been identified. If it was not identified that time, my lord, that was the manual search as I explained earlier on.
All right.
So, Captain, anybody who has been arrested since 2000, their prints, palm prints and fingerprints should be on APHIS, is that correct?
That is correct, my lord.
We know, for example, that Mr. Ramazana is currently serving a sentence. Would his prints have been placed on APHIS?
That is correct, my lord.
And your result, your search result, did you uncover any hits between those fingerprints or
No
palm
hits.
prints? I apologize.
No link, my lord.
No link.
Nothing.
And then I know you indicated that you did not take these prints yourself.
No, my lord, I didn't lift these prints. It was lifted by Sergeant Nadia, who's recently, a few years back, passed on.
Okay.
Sorry, Captain, can I go back a little bit just to make sure I'm with you? So you say, which of those prints are say, pending on APHIS now?
The 76 that my lord is,
The
yeah.
76?
yeah, these ones.
All right,
It's lying on the system.
okay.
Because the person is not now a convicted person, so it will lie there.
And just explain to me again, those palm prints
Yes, my
you
lord.
got from the original.
As I explained,
What happened to them?
these ones, remember, my lord, in the olden days, there was no APHIS.
Yes.
It will just get filed back into the filing cabinet or in the safe, placed back into the Vaughn envelope with the photograph prints. So when we found this Vaughn envelope, we found the Vaughn, and we found these photograph images of the Vaughn inside the Vaughn envelope, my lord.
So could you run any of that on APHIS?
Yes, it was run. It's the one that I showed my lord there earlier on. This one. Yes, only those four, my
So
lord.
those four were run,
Yes, my lord.
and they are the ones that are now pending.
It's hanging there
Hanging.
until someone.
It's hanging. So if anybody is arrested now that match whose palm print matches any of those ones, then you would be able to link the two.
That is correct. What usually happens, we call it unsolved latent UL. What's happened, it comes in and it runs through the system and it picks up, hey, here's possibilities. So when it comes back onto APHIS, it will say, hey, you have a few unsolved latents. So then you check the unsolved latents against the palm prints or fingerprints that came in, and then you then will, if it matches one, and then you will then declare a hit or make a linkage, your worship, my lord.
Thank you.
Captain, if I can just refer you back to the writing on the back of the Vaughn.
No,
I'm not
sorry.
saying correct. the Vaughn samples. The way that they were marked, do they indicate where the prints were lifted?
Yes, my lord.
As a standard procedure in those days.
Yes, it indicates where it was lifted, my lord. I don't know if my lord wants me to read it.
Yes, what does it say, please? Captain?
Okay, number 1 says, palm print on pub door frame. palm print 2, palm print on pub door frame.
Yes, 2 and 3.
I'm looking for 3 now. There we go. 3, palm print on pub door frame.
Yes.
Number 4, also palm print on pub door frame. Number 5, also palm print on pub door frame. Number 6, palm print on pub door frame. Number 7, palm print on pub door frame. So we can now concur, my lord, all these prints that were lifted here were only palm prints and not fingerprints.
And they seem to be lifted at the same spot.
At the same spot. Usually, my lord, what happens in incidents when you interview, when you arrive on the crime scene and you interview maybe the first responder, or if there is people on the crime scene that have seen the crime being committed, and then they will refer you to certain places and all that, and you will then, that the suspects usually possibly or allegedly touch, and then you will go and concentrate thoroughly on that area before you proceed onto your other areas and all that. In this instance, Sergeant Noddy, myself, my lord, was also, if I can put it like this, my actual trainer was Captain Dwayne Dupree. My trainer at the college was mostly, he's now retired, Colonel Vic Meyer. But Nadia was also the one, he used to love working in the district area. And he was also the one when we came in, I came in with Sergeant Green at that time. And he also will take us under his wing. And he was really a thorough investigator. I take my hat off for him.
So he was, you found him there, he was already in this,
Yes, he was already
in this field.
They
came.
yes, we call them the old toppies.
Old
Yeah,
toppies.
the old toppies.
Thank you, Captain. Can you explain as well, so the descriptions of where these prints were lifted, it seems like it was all on the pub door, the pub
Door frame.
pub door frame, sorry. In the sketch plan and key which is submitted or taken and filed in the docket, is there any correlation between that and the fingerprints that we can
I haven't
identify?
seen the sketch plan, my lord.
Alright.
My lord, if I could just hand up exhibits J and K
Very well.
to the witness.
Yes.
Those are the photographs as well as the sketch plan. Is there any way that we can identify from that, if you open the Lever Arch file, sorry, I apologize, the flip file, there you'll see on the first page is the statement of Van Deventer du Plessis, and on the next page is the key or sleutel to sketch plan.
Yes, my lord.
Is there any way that you can identify where those fingerprints were taken?
My lord, if he refers to the entrance, he refers to it as the fingerprint on pub door frame.
Yes.
I want to be very careful, my lord, to say it is which pub door, because it can be the entrance door, or I cannot be 100% sure because I don't have too much information surrounding this case, my lord.
Yes.
As I said, it was just thrown on me, so I want to be very careful to say it is that door or it is that
Yes.
door, my lord. All I can say, I can go on what was written here, fingerprint on pub door frame.
So that would have been the standard procedure at that time?
That is correct, my lord.
Okay. I just want to find out as well, Captain. Do you know Stassen?
Yes, I don't know if I can divulge this information in court, my lord. I met.
Gossip or what?
It's a bit adult, your worship. I met, that time it was Soep Stassen when we were investigating fraud cases linked in the Bishop case where a person used his penis to put onto checks, and we were then requested to assist in the investigation thereof to identify the imprint of the, with the imprint of the other thing. And that is where we met, that time it was Superintendent Stassen, and we've worked very closely with him because his knowledge about fingerprints is very extensive. And that is just where I really now had communication with him, because we were all given a certain batch of these checks to identify A to B and B to A.
And if he had taken,
Did
sorry.
you break that?
Yes, Your Worship, we identified it.
Is it?
Yes, Your Worship.
Well done. I can see why you were
Thank you, my lord. So, if some of the fingerprints which were lifted by Stassen at that stage, would he then report to Nordea, or would Nordea be the one who would be taking the fingerprints?
Nordea will be the one that will do the lifting of the fingerprints.
Okay.
Superintendent Stassen, I don't know if he was on the crime scene or what, I don't know. If he was on the crime scene, and then there would have been a senior officer on the crime scene. The duties of a senior officer on the crime scene is usually to guide the person investigating the crime scene and to make sure. Remember, in the olden days now, I referred now also when I was there, we had a video unit, you had your fingerprint expert, and then you had your photographer. So those three people must be on the scene of crime. Sometimes you get persons that says, I will do the fingerprints and the photography, but we had a video unit also. So the superintendent or the senior member on the crime scene will supervise these three members and make sure that they collect and that they investigate everything that is possible. Remember, my lord, we are just also the assistants. If the detective comes and he says, listen here, I want you to do ABC, and then we will do it because the detective has got other information that we don't know. Because when we go into a crime scene, our main purpose is to include and to exclude persons. And that is basically our main purpose. So if the detective comes and says, I want you to swap here, I want you to investigate here, that is what we do. So Superintendent Stassen, if he was in that position, he would have then coordinate the whole process and make sure. Remember, when we investigate crime scenes, we are concentrating on investigating in crime scenes. We can't see what is going on at the back of us, and he will make sure that our life is also not in danger, yes, including the detective on the crime scene. Okay. And just for interest sake, my lord, if the whole crime scene is now then finished, and then we will do what we call a walk through. We will then walk through the crime scene, and I think they would have, because we've learned these things from these old guys. We will then walk through the crime scene, and then Superintendent Stassen with the detective, the first responder, and the member that investigated the scene will then walk and see if you didn't miss something on the scene of crime.
Okay. And just you mentioned videos. Are the videos kept with the fingerprints?
My lord, that was one of the requests of the captain here, Peterson. My lord, I'm going to be honest with my lord. It is very difficult to go and look in that archives. Remember, we've moved business to another place and all that. At that time, the member that I was supervising at him, but now he's now out of the police now, he's on pension, Colin Charles, I actually had to get permission from the provincial head to ask if he can come and assist us in locating, because he was attached to the video unit at that time, because he will know how they will file their video. Remember, my lord, in the olden days we used the VHS, that big cassette that you will put into a big camera that you will carry like here on your shoulder. So Colin and them used that, but on that video, you don't just record one scene, you record multiple scenes. With the help of Charles, we found 2 video cassettes that he thinks is a probability that it can be the video that was taken on that scene, because it got 1993 on. But the problem, I can bring this to court, I have it in my possession, I just didn't think I'm going to testify about the fingerprints. The problem with it, my lord, the video cassette on the inside, you can already see that it is very, very moldy. We do have a VHS, I also have a VHS. The problem is, if we're going to put it in, and once it's so old, I mean it's about 28, 29 years, once it's in, we don't know if it's going to stretch, and then we have nothing. So I can bring it to court and show the two videos, because we don't even know if it is the right ones, my lord. But it is a possibility, but there's not only one thing, so you literally have to sit with it and run it through, because it's a 2 hour and 1 hour and a 3 hour a video cassette, my lord.
Yes.
Thank you.
The family's legal team might be interested in that.
I can bring it, my lord, but then it must
Mr.
be,
Vaughn, yes.
yeah, it must be noted, Mr. Vaughn, that if they're going to use it and it snapped, the risk is there.
Yeah, all right.
Thank you, my lord.
Thank you, Captain. I appreciate you coming today and sharing your expertise with us. My lord, I have no further questions.
Yes, you confirm the rest of your affidavit, Exhibit X.
That is correct, my lord. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vaughn, you have a question?
Yes, my lord. My lord, before I commence with my cross-examination of Captain Swartboy, just a few housekeeping matters arising from yesterday's meeting. My lord, we would like the court, if the court so deems appropriate, to issue certain subpoenas. Firstly, in relation to the subject matter of the evidence we've just heard, Captain Stassen, who in fact was on the scene as the person in charge of the crime scene investigation, so he was, as Captain Swartboy just indicated, he was in fact supervising Sergeant Nordia and I believe it was Constable Duplessis, the work they were doing, so he's an absolutely crucial witness to hear from. I understand that there's been difficulty in persuading him to come to court. Now I know that normally speaking one has to give a witness 14 days under subpoena, and if it's issued any earlier then you can't really compel the witness to attend. But we thought it might be worth issuing a subpoena against him today, if it hasn't been done already, for him to be here on Thursday. And of course, if he refuses to come on Thursday, I suppose we're not able to do anything about it. But then we're going to have to arrange for him to come at some other juncture, which of course will be quite inconvenient for all the parties. It's not clear to us why he wasn't subpoenaed during the break, because then there were more than 14 days to issue that subpoena, so we think that's unfortunate. I understand he's currently based in Oudtshoorn, my lord. Other subpoenas we would like the court to pursue. In our discussion with our learned friends for the state, we noted that the witness from yesterday, the APLA commander, Mr. Mphahlele, he alleged a general cover-up on the question of the APLA files. And certainly looking at the list of files that Captain Peterson had inspected, it's entirely possible that there are other files still in the possession of groups such as SAPS crime intelligence, SNDF intelligence, and the National Intelligence Agency. I see my attorneys have said South African Secret Services, but that's a separate body. That advised me whether it's known today as NIA or NIS. I think today it is referred to as the NIA, National Intelligence Agency.
Okay.
So there's a possibility that when those files were seized in Tata and Massacre, these different intelligence agencies might have been used copies or even originals, which were not subsequently transferred over to National Archives. So we would like subpoenas issued against those agencies to deliver any APLA files they may have in their possession, which were seized from Massacre and Mthatha, and we don't have. Do we have the dates of those operations when the documents were seized? We don't have exact dates, but apparently they were seized between 94 and 95. Apparently the Mthatha operational raid was in 94, and the documents were seized in Syria, apparently from the university there in 1995.
There was the residence that Mr. Mphahlele referred to in Tata, where those files were kept and where they were, it seems seized. I'm not sure if you also remember that.
We'll check our records. I do recall him mentioning the name of a residence.
Yes.
My Lord, I'm grateful for the information passed on by a learned friend for the state. The individual in question, unfortunately, I'm not sure I can read the name here. But perhaps I can ask my learned friend if he can read it, because I'm going to butcher it.
Oh.
Is it Cezia?
Let him just write it digitally so you can spell it for me.
Yes.
It's not going to help me in any event. Also, if you just read it. Just write it out so you can spell it.
My lordship is Nkululekweni.
Can you just spell it, please?
E-N-K.
Just a minute. E-N.
E-N-K-U. L-U.
Just a minute. K-U.
K-W-E-N-I. It's a place where the previous ministers, where ministers were staying previously. Then it was used by common people, I would say.
So I just want to make sure. So it's Nkuweni.
Nkululekwe,
O-N-Kulu.
Lekwe,
And
N-K-U-L-U,
L-U.
K-W,
K-W-E-N-I.
E-N-I,
Nkulu-kweni.
Nkululekwe. Old ministerial residence.
All right. So forward ministerial residence. Thank you.
My Lord, I'm advised that it was apparently the home of the Vice President of Transkei.
Very well. Yes, thank you. So those are the files.
Yeah, the APLA files.
Yes. Is there anything else?
No, that's
Just before I forget, can I ask council to approach me in chambers 2?
As a
Before
court,
before we commence, I would like to yes, us to discuss this.
as a court, please. May I proceed?
Yes, very well.
Captain, firstly, thank you for taking the time to look into this. I can see that you have left no stone unturned, and we're grateful for your work on this case. I can also see from your evidence and your CV that you're a very experienced crime scene investigator, and then you also possess specific skills in relation to forensic investigation, which includes fingerprints. So I think we have one of the best experts on this topic.
Thank you.
Given your experience and that you have been looking at this case, can you express to the court your view on the quality of the crime scene investigation into the Highgate Hotel massacre? In your view, was it a competent, good investigation, or were there any shortcomings?
My Lord, if I have to answer that question, I was only asked to look at the fingerprints of the specific crime scene. I haven't personally, my Lord, looked at the way the crime scene was processed or the way photographs was taken. The only thing, as I've said, when I came that day to work, this was just placed on my table, and I was then asked to do what I have explained, what I must do. What I can say, my Lord, the person that investigated the scene of crime for fingerprints, I myself, as I've said earlier on, was also trained by him, and I've learned a lot from him. Before he passed on, he worked at training. So his expertise was then transferred and all that. So from my point of view, from knowing the person, my Lord, I would say that Sergeant Nadir was one of the best ones at the office at the time when it comes to crime scene investigations. Regarding the investigation of this crime scene, as I have explained, my Lord, that there were 7 Mphahlele lifted at the pub door frame. He will know why he did that. Unfortunately, he can't explain it, but I know his intellect or his knowledge about crime scenes. He will know why he only investigated that. So from my point of view, from the fingerprint side, my Lord, I can say that Sergeant Nadir, before he passed on, was warrant officer, did a good job, and he knew why he only had to investigate that part of the area. Regarding the others, to be honest, my Lord, I am very, very, very busy. I testify in cases in PEI, my own cases, and here locally. So when this was put on, I had to put my other things aside, but I only concentrated on the thing. I don't have any knowledge of how the crime scene looked like on the inside, my lord. I hope that will answer, my lord.
Well, it's certainly a start, but thank you, Captain. And in relation to the other individuals involved in the forensic investigation on the scene, because aside from Sergeant Nadir, there was also Francois Stassen, and I believe it's Constable Duplessis. You believe that Sergeant Nadir was a very competent investigator?
That is correct, my lord.
And had you worked with Stassen and Duplessis as well? And if so, can you express a view of their competency?
If I have to start, my lord, with Warrant Officer Duplessis, that's also retired now, so he retired as a captain. When he took over, when I started to know him on this side, he was also a very, how can I put it when I don't know the right word, particular person. He was very particular in what he does. So, and he loved to create draw plans and things like that. That was one of his strong points also. So regarding his investigating of crime scenes, I can also vouch for him and say that when I worked with him, I cannot say in 1993, because 1993 I was working at Fleet Street Police Station. So I can vouch for him when I worked with him from 1998 up until 2003, when I was then transferred to the CSI in Port Elizabeth. So for the time period I know him, I can vouch for him and say that he is a good investigator, crime scene investigator. Substassen, as I've said, we've only met now that one incident that I have explained to the court, which I don't wish to explain again. So that Substassen for me
We would like you to explain it again.
Thank you, my lord.
We respect you.
Thank you, my lord.
Request.
Substassen, I can really, we all actually never knew that you can actually identify that part of a body. It actually led us to go a little bit further when I was at the CSI, where myself and Warrant Officer Becker started to investigate even these parts, my lord, of the arm. Because sometimes the people have gloves on here and they touch and they leave this part of the arm, and then that inspired us actually to not only look to the palm and the fingerprints, but also other identifying marks. So that all comes from Substassen. So I can vouch for these members, my lord.
If you say, with regard to Duplessis, he was a captain, you said, when he retired.
When he retired, my lord, and he was the commander. He was the commander when he retired.
So I think you were looking for a word.
Very
you
particular.
said particular. What is the Afrikaans term that you?
Hy was baie puntenerig of spesiaal, deeglik, ja, deeglik.
Deeglik.
Ja, baie deeglik, my.
Meticulous. Okay. Thank you.
Thorough, ja. Thorough.
Sorry, Mr.
Thank you, Lordship. You mentioned that in '93 you were at some police station. Was that outside of East London?
No, Your Worship, at that time, it's at Fleet Street Police Station.
Oh, Fleet Street,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. At that time, the LCRC was situated at the top floor. And when I joined them, luckily I was part of that team still on the top floor.
Okay.
So we were all it was LCRC on top, the detectives, and then you have now your support services, and then at the bottom you'll have your charge officer with the cells.
Right. But you were not part of the team investigating the Highgate
No,
massacre?
I wasn't, my lord.
But do you recall it from that time, being in East London when it happened?
My lord, I'm going to be honest with you, my lord. I was a very busy young man. These things didn't worry me.
We're getting a better and better insight.
But I'm reformed now, my lord.
So that's where your expertise comes from.
Yes, my lord, can you say so?
Thank you.
And according to your statement, paragraph 4, you started work on the fingerprints related to this case on the 27th of January 2025, which happened to be the first day of this inquest.
I don't know if it was the first day, but that is the day that I was requested. Yeah.
And indeed, it was also the day that Captain Peterson gave evidence as the investigating officer. They typically put up documents and explain the investigations on the first day. And that's when we asked Captain Peterson what had happened to the Prince, because the investigation diaries indicated that Prince had been taken, but they weren't part of the inquest docket. So we're assuming that as a result of that evidence, an instruction was given to you to try and locate the Prince attached to this case.
That is correct, my lord.
And actually, while we're on that score, we did raise some concern and consternation that for a very high-profile case, in which 5 individuals died in a massacre and 7 were injured, it received a lot of publicity in the media. That the docket, although it made references to Prince being lifted, as well as so-called eliminations being carried out, as I understand it, but you'll have to confirm, this is an exercise in which the Prince of potential persons of interest or suspects are compared to the Prince collected at the scene. And so there are quite a few references, and we'll come to it shortly, of these eliminations taking place. So it did suggest that, in fact, Prince had been lifted at the scene. But all that information was not in the docket, though.
The information of the fingerprints lifted and all that?
The fingerprints lifted. So, for example, Exhibit Y, this document that you have testified on this morning, we saw this for the first time yesterday. So, my question is, do you regard that as somewhat unusual in the circumstances?
No, Your Worship, it's not unusual. What comes in my lord, let me just explain. You have a case docket which is investigated by your detective. And he has, in his case docket, he has different types of attachments that he attached inside his case docket. When a crime scene occurred, and when the detective comes to the crime scene, and then you have like your SCP-5, your investigation diary, then he will make entries in the investigation diary as to who was on the crime scene and who did what on the crime scene, who was the mortuary van, things like that will come into the diary. Then he must also indicate in the diary that the following people from the LCRC were present on the crime scene. So then he will say, for in this instance, Duplessis did the photography, Nadir did the fingerprints, and this one did it. He will say what the activities of the LCRC was. So in the LCRC environment, the detective has his own docket. We in the LCRC environment have our own docket and our own documentation. In this instance, my lord, the fingerprints that were now found on the crime scene, these ones, will never ever see the docket of the investigating officer. This is our exhibit. The only time that this exhibit will be made known is when the identification is made, my lord. And when the identification is made, say for instance, a Mphahlele number 4 is now identified, my lord. We will then open up an identification docket, which don't go to the IO. Doesn't go to the, nothing of us goes to the IO. The only things of us that goes to the IO is a statement. So, on the scene of crime, the IO will make an entry in his docket. Fingerprints, positive. Photography taken, video taken. That is now from our side. The moment we make an identification, as I've said, maybe number 4 is now identified. We remove Mphahlele number 4 from the Mphahlele envelope, my lord. We then take this Mphahlele number 4 with the photograph, my lord. that was now maybe identified. Then we take the fingerprints that is available to us, we mark out 7 points to make sure that this is the person, because 7 points is required by law in the South African courts. Then we mark out those 7 points, we place it in our identification docket, and we make a copy of this full-in envelope, and then we fold it, some staple it together, some use double-sided tape to keep it together. We put then, my lord, the identified full-in inside the new full-in envelope and put it into the docket. Then this one gets filed into archives, and then the ID docket is filed with the identified fingerprint, my lord. Then there is a statement. Nowadays it's made much easier. It is loaded up onto the ICDMS of the detectives. We scan it into the ICDMS. In those days, the detective will be notified, listen here, we have identified, or we have linked a suspect or a person of interest to the crime scene. So these documents will never see or be in possession of the detectives.
Okay.
They will only be in possession of a statement.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. But typically in a murder scene, a murder investigation, is a fingerprint report, an FP report developed.
In the olden days, my lord, when a fingerprint report is developed, usually what comes in, the detective will know now there is positive fingerprints lifted. So then he will come with possible suspects. And he will say, listen here, we have maybe 2-3 suspects. We then call that an elimination report. We then take the fingerprints, go to the search room, that was now in the olden days, and then we search against the photographed prints that were photographed from the full-in. Then we search now and see if we can make an identification or a linkage. Then we will give the detective an elimination report. Nowadays, the detectives don't just want an elimination report anymore. They want the elimination report. Some detectives say, give me a statement. So that is the reports that we are talking about, that we give the detectives, because they know if they go onto their system, on their case and the ICDM system, they can draw their own reports, because we link our reports, what we call the SIMS system, where we upload all our information, like for instance, to say now that this fingerprint was lifted there and there, we load it up, the detective can see from their side, because our systems are interlinked, and then they can see from their side, now here is a report, it's a positive fingerprint report, you draw that report from the system.
Right, and in the older days, was the fingerprint report referred to with police jargon as SAP 21?
The SCP 21 is a document that is used for different purposes. I used the SCP 21 3 weeks ago when I had to use my private vehicle to go to court. It's just a document that states that it's like an information note to state that I'm going to PE with my private vehicle, or I can say that these fingerprints were lifted and no person were connected or are linked to the finger. The SCP-21 is used for different
Right.
things.
So it helps the investigator, because it'll either say a match was made or elimination was unsuccessful, and then it's filed. But Lord, may I refer the court to the investigation diary, which is Exhibit E, and it'll be page SAP 5C30. I don't. Do you have you don't have a copy of the investigation?
No.
Okay.
I only had
Well, we're not going to bother you with it, because there's just one line I want to bring to your attention. So, my Lord, towards the bottom of that page, on the, looks like it was the 6th of May 1993 at 14:30, Captain Schwartz makes a report, but only the bottom one is relevant for us. FP report filed as per B2. But B2 is not in the docket, or at least not the docket that was furnished to us.
To explain that, my lord, I need to tread very careful on that area because if he says B2 was filed, I can't say where B2 was, but certain procedures, as I have explained it, my lord, is supposed to be there. So if they came with fingerprints to us and say that do an elimination for us or give us a report to say that the fingerprints is positive or negative, we already tell them on the crime scene. So if he is going to say B2, something is filed in B2 and all that, I cannot say where that report is. But to my knowledge, on the scene of crime, you say to the person it's positive or it is negative.
All right, but at the moment it's uncontested that there was a fingerprint report, which presumably either said, they gave the results of any matching exercise, positive or negative. It was filed as B2, at least in terms of the investigation diary, and as matters stand today, we don't have B2. Maybe there's still a possibility of finding B2 somewhere.
My lord, as I've explained earlier on, B2, I can get into B2 a little bit. If there was a report filed regarding this Mphahlele that I have in my possession here now, then in this Mphahlele envelope, there would only have been 6 Mphalele's. And then the report that you refer to might be that the B2 might be an elimination report, my lord, where the detective will bring in suspects to say, listen here, have a look for us at this suspect, is there a possibility? And then you will maybe file it in B2 to say it's an elimination report. That's what we call a fingerprint report and all that. We call it the elimination report. Now, the following suspects were received, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but nobody is linked to the matter. So I think that is the B2. To answer the question to say, is there a possibility that we can find it? I don't know. But for this Mphahlele I have in my possession, nobody was identified.
Well, we assume that the B2 report doesn't take matters further. Presumably it says nobody was identified. But it's just odd that it was not part of the docket because it ought to have been there as B2. My lord, I see it's 1 p.m. Would this be an appropriate time for the adjournment? We haven't quite finished. We would need the witness to assist us again after lunch.
Yes, very well. We'll take the adjournment. I was asked if it would be easier if you were to approach me now rather than later.
We can do so, my lord.
Let's do that. I understand we've got a water problem building. So I think I'll start with the release of our adjourn for lunch until 2:15 and the council can see you in chambers.
As a court, please.
Yes, my lord.
Thank you, Mr. Vaughn.
As the court pleases.
Thank you.
Captain Swatboy, just before we adjourn for lunch, you indicated that you were only asked to consider the fingerprint investigation, not the whole crime scene investigation.
That is correct, my lord.
Then can you advise the court what you thought of the fingerprint investigation, the quality? Was it done competently or were there any shortcomings?
My lord, as I've testified earlier on, the member, a warrant officer not there, he was a very prim and proper guy and very thorough person. So in many instances when you arrive on a crime scene, as I've indicated, the detective will tell you, listen here, according to witnesses or according to information, we would rather want you to concentrate on this and concentrate on this. In this instance, if you look at the Mphahlele, as I've testified earlier on, where he lifted the fingerprints or the palm prints, it was from one area, so it must have been that someone indicated to him, listen here, this is only the area point of interest that needs to be investigated. If he investigated further, I cannot tell. If he went further and he found more fingerprints, it would have been lifted and it would have been indicated. But from what is lifted, it is only positive fingerprints of palm prints found on the pop door frame. So I cannot say, because I was not there, if he investigated further, but to my knowledge, he is a very thorough person and would have investigated further. But if not, I cannot say.
Okay. And I think you testified earlier that it's not possible to make a determination from the sketch plan where those door frames were located.
No, I said that I don't want to go that route, so I cannot. All I can say is what the Mphahlele is saying on pop door frame.
Right. Well, we're aware that there were two sites of shooting in the hotel, in the men's bar and the ladies' bar. So we can assume that the door frame was either one of those bars or perhaps both of those bars, but we can't say for sure.
I cannot elaborate on it because I go what is written on the Mphahlele.
Right. So it's not possible from what you have before you to make that.
I cannot make that assumption.
Right. But as you say, Sergeant Nordier would have acted under the instructions of his immediate superior, who at the time was Stassen.
The superior, yes, he will reacted under the leading of the superior and under the leading of the detective. And when you come to a crime scene, look, you get the information. Even up until today, when we get to a crime scene, you get the information either from the detective, your first responder, or any person that is there with you. Once you have that information, you do your first walkthrough. That is what we usually do. We do a first walkthrough, and you as a crime scene investigator or expert, you then see what is on the crime scene, my lord, and then you make your further observations. And once you've made your further observations, because remember, we are doing a lot of crime scenes in one day, and we gain experience through all these crime scenes. So sometimes the detective will miss something, the overseer will miss something, and you will go in and then you'll say, okay, detective so-and-so, I will also investigate it, and then you do it. You will see that I will want to investigate this, and then you will tell him why you want to investigate it. So I think he would have used that knowledge. The reason, my lord, why I am saying this, because this is how we are trained to investigate crime scenes.
Thank you,
my lord.
That's fair enough, Captain. Just some technical questions, and excuse my ignorance as a layperson.
No, my lord.
The door frame, probably it was a wooden door, might have been varnished or painted. Can one lift prints off easily, those kinds of surfaces?
Yeah, my lord, if you say very smooth, especially a varnish one, usually when we will powder surfaces and it's a varnish print, and then we will sometimes say, yo, here's a SAP 76. What we actually mean is like, yes, like this print is very, 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 very good. On surfaces, as you are mentioning now, that is varnished, you get the most beautiful fingerprints.
But if it wasn't varnished or painted, just pure wood, would it be more difficult?
Pure wood, depending on how the wood is treated, if it's not treated or not treated, if it's now like varnish, and like this one here, it's slightly varnished, it's a little bit, you'll get it easy. If it's now something, I can't get something here in the courtroom, if you powder it on a piece of wood that is not treated, it will be a little bit difficult. But what is so beautiful about that again is, when you powder something that is now not treated like this here, and you powder untreated wood, you must remember on the untreated wood, there is nothing covering that part of the wood. So you will get these small cracks and things into the lines into the wood. So once you lay a fingerprint or a palm print, you put it onto that surface and you apply the powder, then there will be breakages within the print itself. And if we look at the prints that was scanned onto APHIS, I don't know what we call it now, the one exhibit. Sorry, my lord.
It's exhibit Y, but perhaps you can just give us the page number.
Yeah, let me just get to it. Let's especially take this.
Is it page 8?
It's at page 8, my lord, this one here.
Oh, no, that one is different.
This one, my
Page
lord.
6, isn't it?
No, that's-
This one, yeah.
That's page 6, I believe.
My lord, have it?
Yes, that's 6.
If my lord just look at the two that is very black, that you can see, ne? You have it there?
Yes.
Ne? If I can take, for instance, I can actually take both. Ne? If you can see here, ne?
Sorry, Captain, it's important that the judge sees this.
Oh,
so maybe you can
sorry,
pass it.
sorry. You know, I always forget that part. My lord, if you can see here, my lord, ne? If you look very carefully at this type of surface, ne? You can actually, and I can say it ne, out of experience now, ne? If it was a untreated wood, ne? You would have picked up where the ridge formings are coming out and the ridge lines are coming out. There would have been a disturbance in between the ridge lines, my lord. But if you look at this surface, ne? If you look at this palm print, it is actually a steady flow of the fingerprints. It runs in, so there's no disturbance. Telling me as a fingerprint expert that this couldn't be untreated wood. It would have been a treated surface, a flat surface, a surface that didn't have any disturbances, like for instance this, or even an aluminium surface that will have something like this.
Thank you. I just wanted to note that it was possible, and that's a great explanation. Another technical question. You mentioned in your evidence this morning that over an extended time period, the Mphahlele, the black Mphahlele, because it's made up of certain chemical composition, you mentioned jelly type substances and various other inputs, they decline over time, and as a result, we're just left with these black Mphahlele, 7 of them, and you were only able to recover some palm prints from some of them, but the balance are unusable.
That is correct, my lord. What actually is where we covered the actual prints from, my lord, is from the photograph prints. On the Mphahlele itself, there's nothing. But the photograph prints that survived, only a few survived that we could actually manage to scan. But on the Mphahlele, there is nothing.
And as a matter of interest, approximately, after what period of time do these Mphahlele deteriorate to the point where they become unusable?
My lord, to answer that question, to be honest, my lord, to the court, when this matter came to us, it was actually my first time in my 28 years within this environment that I'm actually coming in contact with something like this. So to answer the court correctly, I cannot attach a time period of how long it will last on there. What I only did is when I realized, okay, this one is like that, and then I went to go back and see if the other 93 cases is also like that, my lord, and that is where I determined. To be honest, my lord, I made it my own, before I retired, that I want to do my own scientific analysis why it disappeared in that time period. It was exposed to a lot of elements like heat. It was exposed to humidity, where it was stored and all that, and it was lying on top of each other. So there can be a lot of consequences that led to the disappearance thereof. But scientifically, I cannot answer this court, my lord, to say this is the correct reason that this has now disappeared. I want to be honest, my lord.
So you can't pinpoint a time that, after 5 or 10 or 20 years, these materials will deteriorate.
My lord, no. I cannot determine a time period because I haven't done a scientific analysis. But sometimes, like I've done 3 months ago about the areas that we are living in, how our fingerprints is developed on the inside of our house and the outside, and what is the time period. We've written something, we've compiled something for that. So it is a continuous research thing. Like this is now something new for me that we are going to do a research definitely on it.
Well, we'd be interested to hear that research, even if this investigation is over.
No, I will do so. It's not a problem.
By that time, but perhaps you could pass on the results to Captain Peterson, and because I think that actually is important research to do. Because my follow-up question would then have been, well, let's for argument's sake say, it's 10 or 20 years. So if it was 10 years, it would probably last until around 2003. If it were 20 years, around 2013. So what would the prospects have been that before the Mphahlele deteriorated to that point, that those prints might have been run through APHIS prior to the deterioration?
What would have been run through APHIS would not have been the Mphahlele. Once the Mphahlele is stored, we only work on the photograph prints that is available. So what happened now is the only things that were run, my lord, were these photograph prints. And it is when we realize now there is nothing on the Mphahlele itself. So to answer the question is, Detma let us to run it on APHIS and all that. In that time, 1993, there was no APHIS.
Yes, and APHIS came in 2000?
2000.
And you're able to say that until you ran APHIS, none of these prints had been run through APHIS prior to when you did it?
There was no APHIS 1993.
No, I know, but
Oh,
post,
you mean,
post
no,
2000.
not on this case. It was only run now again.
And if it had been run before, you would have picked it up somehow?
You mean from 2000 up until now?
Exactly.
If it was now lying on the system, as I've indicated earlier on, and then it would come back as an unsolved latent, but nothing has come back. I remember we did identify old cases like 1999, I remember, of members that already left. So it would have come back if it was scanned onto the APHIS system as an unsolved latent, and then we will then check it out, but nothing came back, and even when we rescan it, nothing came back, my lord.
Okay.
So if it has been scanned or placed or run through the APHIS system before you did your recent investigation, are you saying that it would probably have been one of those hanging?
That's correct, my lord.
Yeah.
What usually happens, my lord, you get different types of APHIS experts. One will mark out a certain area on the specific palm print, fingerprint, or whatever. And everyone, sometimes APHIS choose minutia for you, where's one's lekker and all that. But most APHIS experts like to choose their own minutia. So what can happen is, it is scanned already, but then you do a rescan and you put it on the system. And then it runs a rescan. But if that thing was lying on APHIS, it would have come back as an unsolved latent. Now that we put it onto the system again, it is now scanned as a new one. So when it came back as a no hit or a no linking of any person, my lord.
All right, thank you. Sorry.
As a complete. And you also mentioned that these Mphahlele were lying on top of each other in an envelope, and the mere fact that they were lying on top of each other, perhaps in rooms that might have been quite warm, that could have speeded up the decline in the Mphahlele.
My lord, as I said, it's not scientifically been proven, but excuse me, my lord, as I stand sometimes. But if we look, my lord, at the Mphahlele envelope itself, and if you feel it itself, you can feel it still a little bit as if it is a little bit humid, wetterig, and like that and all that. And that can, because remember, the Mphahlele consists also of sugar, gelatin, and a little bit of water, and then the adhesive stuff on it and all that. So if it lies on top of each other, and look now at this, my lord, at the front of the Mphahlele envelope, there was just one lying here on top, and look the consequences thereof. So it shows that not only this one, but all the other ones that I've also brought to the court have the same, and you can actually see how it looks like, because the place where it is stored is not a very good place where it is stored. That is why 99% of today, my lord, we don't use Mphahlele anymore. We rather use the Scotch tape, or we photograph the fingerprints.
And if each Mphahlele had been kept secretly, so they weren't touching each other, perhaps in separate envelopes, that might have protected them a bit longer?
No, my lord, the Mphahlele is not kept separately. it is kept as it is here, my lord, together.
Yeah,
in one envelope.
No, but if they had been kept separately,
Had they been kept, I can show the court, my lord. I don't know if I will be lucky if I have one here. Let me just, yeah, hallelujah. I have one here, my lord. Here is one, my lord. My lord can see. Here's one.
Yes.
And let's see inside. It's nothing.
okay.
Nothing, my lord. So what the court is now saying, my lord, if it was kept 111 would have been last. Yes, proof didn't last.
Right. If we can return
What
to
is the date of that one?
The one, this one was taken.
Single.
Yeah, it's a single, my lord. It's the reference number is 2053 of 1993.
Oh, 1993.
Yeah, and the date was the 23rd of the 4th, 1993 at 10:30.
All right. It's 1993. All right. Thank you.
and if we can return to the descriptions on the back of the Mphahlele, and you pointed out to us that all the descriptions are the same: palm prints, top, door frame.
Yes, my lord.
When we talk about top door frame, are we talking about the actual top of the door, as in the very top, or are we perhaps talking about the face of the door towards the top?
My lord, correction there, my lord. I think I said what is written on the back is palm print on the pub door frame. I didn't say on the top or at the bottom or in the middle. This is what is written on here on all 7. Palm print on pub door frame. So I can't say middle, top of, or it's not mentioned here. My lord.
Palm print on
Pub door pub. P-U-B.
P-U-P.
P-U-B, yeah.
Not top. Yeah.
Pub.
Pub, yeah.
Okay, so
Drink, yeah.
thanks for clearing that, because I had
Thank you,
heard
my lord.
top. Okay. Well, you know, it just shows you one has to clarify these things.
No problem, my lord.
It could have been anywhere on the door.
That is correct, my
It could have
lord.
been the top, the middle, the side, wherever. Okay.
That's right, my lord.
And while we were on that interesting topic, I'm sure you're aware of the basic facts of this case. That at least 2 gunmen, one came to the men's bar, one to the ladies' bar, holding a AK-47, which you'd be familiar with what an AK-47 is, and that the gunman in the men's bar also threw a F1 hand grenade. And my team will remind me the gas canister was in the men's bar as well. Now, typically, as you know, I'm not a soldier, so I don't know. But presumably, if you're carrying an AK-47, you're typically using both hands to fire, and then you would probably have to do some kind of interesting maneuver to then pull out a hand grenade or a tear gas canister, throw that as well. Not clear what the gunman would have been doing with the AK while that was happening, but the point I'm trying to get to is it's probably unlikely that the gunman ended up touching or holding onto the door frame because they were busy shooting or throwing a grenade or tear gas canister. Would you agree?
I'm very careful to tread on that area. I will speak out of my experience in the police of when I was in KZN, when we did at Mphahlele and all that, when you handle, that time it was the R1 that we use. And when you shoot with the R1, you shoot in this position, you shoot. You are not really in a position to take out something from you because your concentration is what you are shooting at. And the R1 is far bigger than a AK-47. So if I can stand like this, my lord, if I use a R1, we used to shoot it, and you understand? So you don't have time still to take out something here and shoot. So the statement that you made now, my lord, is It is when you are busy shooting, you're concentrating on what you're doing. You can't do 2 or 3 things at one. Because out of experience, if we shoot in KZN, we were shooting, we didn't concentrate on other things still to take out of your, unless someone gets shot. Then you will try and assist, but your concentration is on what you're doing. That is just my assumption that I'm making, my lord.
Right.
How does one detonate a tear gas canister? I know the hand grenade you could remove a pin.
It's the
So you're going
same.
to use both hands.
Yes, my lord, you have to.
You have to-
And then throw it, my lord, to
Is it-
where your target is.
So it's the same with the tear gas.
That's
can.
correct,
You
my
must also
lord.
remove something.
That's correct,
and
my lord,
throw.
and throw.
So, look, we can only speculate, but it's possible that the gunman who did that might have had a rifle sling or a strap, and he was able just to shove it over his shoulder and then do the other maneuvers.
As I say, I'm speaking for myself. I can't speak of what happened that night there.
And of course,
I will never try with a automatic rifle that is on fire. Try and do something else, because the moment you have a sling over you and you try to do something else, you must remember the hammer is back. The sneller, what you call the sneller now?
Trigger.
The trigger is very sensitive at that moment. So if that rifle is hanging on a sling and it's hanging like this and you try to do something else, just one push, you can shoot yourself. That is just out of experience.
right. So the point I'm trying to make, Captain, is that it seems unlikely that the prints on the doors, and let's assume for the moment that we're talking about the doors at the entrance to the ladies' bar and the door at the entrance to the men's bar, that they were either shooting with an AK-47, might be smaller than an R1, but presumably that you would require both hands to do it. Unless, of course, you're Rambo, then maybe you can shoot with one hand. And then, to discharge the grenade and the canister, again, you'd be needing both hands to do both those maneuvers. So it seems to us that it's unlikely that the gunman ended up, holding onto the door frame. And then it's more likely that the prints, whatever was recovered from the door frame, probably was from patrons who were in the bar around that time.
To answer that one, my lord, I will answer it in the following question. No person was identified, and possible suspects that were brought for elimination were also not identified. That is all that I can say. So no person was identified.
Yes, indeed, but I'm just asking you, to use common sense, and as a very experienced police officer and crime scene investigator, that the probabilities are that the prints recovered off the door frames were unlikely to have been the assailants, because their hands were busy doing other things. And typically in a busy bar, you'll have staff members and customers who might end up standing by the entrance drinking and holding on to the door frame. And so the probabilities are that these prints are not from the suspects, but most likely from a patron or staff member.
It can be, my lord, that that assumption can be made, and it can also be that this person who touched there, my lord, doesn't have a criminal record on record, and that is one of the possibilities, my lord. So.
But yes, that's obviously the case. But if we go back to the mechanics of how this attack happened, it seems to us highly improbable that the gunman would hold onto the door and shoot an AK-47, or hold onto the door and throw a grenade. It just doesn't seem probable.
It doesn't seem probable, my lord. But if I can just go again to when we penetrate houses, sometimes before you penetrate, you throw the canister first and then you penetrate. But in this instance, I cannot say, because I don't know what happened there that night.
Right. Now, you're aware, of course, that a large number of AK-47 rounds were discharged, and my team will correct me if I'm wrong, but 56 AK-47 cartridges were recovered, as well as 9 .38 revolver cartridges. Do you perchance have a copy of the photo album with you?
No, Your Worship, my Lord, I don't have a copy of the
I'm going to
album.
ask my colleagues if they might be able to give you one, or if we happen to have a photo album.
Sorry, it was returned.
My Lord, the photo album is Exhibit K. And since we're talking about the cartridges, can I draw your attention to photo 102? 102, I think it's probably the last photo in the
102. Yes, my Lord.
So again, I'm talking to you as a layperson, but you know there are a large number of cartridges there, and as I understand it, these are made of a metallic or brass type substance. My investigator also advises me that the attackers or their collaborators would have loaded their weapons. You know, they have to hold on to those cartridges and shove them into the magazine one by one. So there probably were prints of some sort on those cartridges, and yet we see no evidence of those prints being lifted off the cartridges.
I'll explain now, my Lord. I'm just writing everything you're asking me for research purposes.
Yes, of course.
It's all being recorded, Captain.
Oh, thank you, my Lord.
Yeah.
Thank you, my Lord. To answer the question, when you send off cartridge cases or bullets to ballistics, you want to have the ballistics intact as much as possible. I cannot testify on ballistics analysis, but what we have learned, if you, the method that they would have used to check for fingerprints on the cartridge cases at that time, we have a mobile, we call it a cyan cabinet. It's a small one we use when we go to the Kaimout or Kumga or Stadtruim and all that. You will put your exhibits in that. But it's a cyan grenade, super glue, if I can put it like that. That you put the exhibit, like for instance in this case the cartridge cases. You put it in there and you open up the super glue. Or that time we had like a silver container key that is made out of foil, but it's a container. You put the super glue in there, my Lord. You put it into the fuming cabinet. It's a small one, a wooden one with a glass in front. And then you put a little bit of water. And then you let it stay there with a light, a mobile light. We had batteries and then the PM9 battery. And then it will then stand like for 3 to 4 hours because you don't want to overdevelop the fingerprint and all that. But the risk thereof is, once you do that method, and then you can't send that cartridge case out to ballistics anymore. I don't know the condition of these cartridge cases, my Lord. But if I have a little bit, a close look, my Lord, it for me it looks very old and it looks a little bit dirty. So if I was the crime scene investigator on this crime scene, I would have rather want to see from what firearm this one was fired. Because if you have multiple cartridge cases at different places on the crime scene, you don't know, because remember we are there to include and exclude. So you don't know if there was one firearm, because at that time the witness will tell you, no, there was one firearm, but later you find out that these cartridge cases, if you send it off to ballistics, there's 3 to 4 or 5 firearms. So if I was the investigating officer on this crime scene, pertaining to the information I would have received, I would have rather sent these exhibits straight off to ballistics to be analyzed, because if I use the method that is supposed to be used, I will damage the ballistics on the cartridge case itself, so the people won't be able to make an analysis on IBIS or to link a firearm to the cartridge case, my Lord.
You know, I would agree with you, Captain, if you just had a handful of cartridges and you didn't want to take that chance. here we have nearly 60 cartridges. So you could have kept some for the ballistic testing and a few for the fingerprint lifting.
I hear what the court is saying, my lord. But for me personally, I don't know how Noddy investigated this crime scene. You understand? But as time go on, you must remember, my lord, in that time period, 1993, the most commonly used powders on scene of crimes were aluminium powder and black powder. That was the only two powders that was mostly used on crime scenes. We can go back, my lord. You can call any other expert of that time period. They will tell you aluminium powder, black powder. It was now that we are here, that we started to use red oxide, which is a very good powder, and now your fluorescent powders and all that. That time also there wasn't a fingerprint lab that could have helped towards. You could have used now on this method, you could have used, I can't now remember this thing, but you could have used another chemical that could develop the fingerprint without harming the surfaces of the ballistics. Rhodamine 6G, my lord, is the one that you use. Rhodamine 6G. But that wasn't available at that time.
So talking about the views of other experts, we put this to Captain du Plessis when he gave evidence. Although he wasn't doing fingerprinting on that particular scene, I believe he was doing the photographs. But you know, he's also a fingerprint expert. So we asked him, do you know if the cartridges found on the scene, whether they were fingerprinted? My Lord, I'm reading from the transcript. My attorneys will get you the transcript number. We'll get that detail to you shortly. So Captain du Plessis responds, no, I do not know. And then I ask him, typically in a scene like this, would you expect the cartridges to be fingerprinted? And Mr. du Plessis answers, it should have been done, yes. And I say, because as I understand, the shooter invariably would often leave prints on the cartridges because they would have to push them into the magazine or the firearm, and his response is in the affirmative, yes. So the information we have, which seems to be confirmed by Mr. du Plessis, and from what I'm told by retired Brigadier Marion, is that at that time, cartridges were in fact fingerprinted, even if they didn't have the latest red oxide powder and the like.
Your Worship, to be honest with the court, every expert has his own analysis of a crime scene and all that, and what he will do and what he won't do. I testified in a High Court case in Port Elizabeth, and I was asked about the beginning and the ending of a reach, and that was a few years back, and I explained that is the beginning and the ending of a reach, but it was then put to me that it is a bifurcation. Then they brought in another fingerprint expert who was my trainer years ago, and he said, and that is why I say everyone will have a difference of opinion, and he said, he will agree with me that is a beginning and the ending of a reach. But if you look closely at it, other experts will come and say that it is a bifurcation because of the dust that is there. So in this instance, if Dupi would have said that every crime scene or this crime scene, the fingerprints should have, must have been done on the cartridge cases, that is his professional or expert opinion. But it's just unfortunate that the Nobby is not here, and I'm going to vouch again, my lord. He was one of the greatest in the office at that time. And then you will get your Gerard Claessens and your Ocker van der Westhuizen when it comes to crime scenes, when we joined and all that. So, Noddy had his reasons why he did not do a fingerprints on the crime scene. And for that, I cannot vouch for it today or say why he didn't do. But you can get fingerprints from a cartridge case when you use certain powders. Why? I don't know. Everyone has his own reasons.
Right. Well, given this was a mass murder scene, would you not agree that, and given the abundance of cartridges, would you not agree that it would have been prudent to, at least in a handful of them, attempt to lift prints? Would that not have been just a basic cautionary step to take?
My Lord, to answer that one, if I had the opportunity to see these cartridge cases, then I would actually say why not he didn't do it. But to make a determination from a photo and make a certain allegation, because you must remember, my Lord, if something is very old and the surface is not very good, even if you're going to use your thumb or whatever to put the cartridge in, but if that surface is a surface that is not very conducive, that is not really where your fingerprint, even if you put how much pressure on it, because you must remember, my Lord, in instances where we did find fingerprints, even touch DNA on cartridge cases when I was at CSI and all that, you must take in consideration the following, my Lord. Can I stand just again, my Lord? When you look at your cartridge case, depending on how big it is, my Lord, and you put it into the magazine, depending on how big it is, must remember that cartridge case, it goes through certain mechanisms and it leaves a trace on the cartridge of the firearm. So the fingerprint that was there, as I explained earlier on about the door, then there will be maybe the destruction of the fingerprints on the cartridge case itself, my Lord. So depending on the surface also, how dirty it was, how the cartridge, and if I look here, I don't want to make this up because I don't have the cartridge in, and even if we take it now, these cartridge cases, it would have already deteriorated and it wouldn't have looked nice.
No, we're talking about on the night in question.
Yeah, in the night in question, if you look at these cartridges here, cartridge cases here, if I look at it, it looked a little bit old and all that. And honestly, me personally,
well,
fingerprints could have been done.
Some looked old, Captain, but actually there are other pictures, close-ups of some of these cartridges where they seem to be fairly brassy and shiny. Maybe my team can find a few of those. But the bottom line, Captain, is that today, of course, we're in the realm of speculation. But again, I must put it to you that just as a matter of caution and prudence, those cartridges, some of them should have been subjected to fingerprint examination, and you would only determine the quality of the prints after you have got the results. Yes, they may be useless. There may be nothing to find because of the age of the cartridge in question and other factors. But we'll only know that if they were done, and the fact is they were not done.
I cannot answer that one, my Lord, because I was not the crime scene investigator at the time, but the person who investigated, I can vouch for him, my Lord, and why he didn't investigate it. It's all up to him, and it's his judgment and all that, and unfortunately he is not here to answer, but I agree, you can, it's not to say that I want to run away from, you can fingerprint it, my Lord. It was not done. If it was not done, I don't know. If it was not done, why it was not. I cannot answer that, my Lord.
Well, we will be submitting to this court that was, at the minimum, a very serious lapse in this investigation. And if I can refer you to photo 5, there's a picture of a cartridge on the floor. It's not a close-up, but even at that distance, you can see that it is quite a shiny object.
Yeah, my Lord, it will look like a shiny object and all that because it's taken up close up, and that shininess is the flesh that is, can be the flesh that is now reflecting on the cartridge. It's not a true reflection of the shininess or not shininess, it can be the flesh because it's a close-up photo, my Lord.
My Lord, I've got the reference to the transcript. It's dated 3rd of February 2025. This is the evidence of Mr. Du Plessis. It's day 6, part 1, page 70 of the transcript, from lines 8 to 20. Well, let's move on from the cartridges.
Yes, my Lord.
We consulted with an explosives expert his name was Charles Nordier. He was a retired technical munitions officer with the South African National Defence Force. And you know, one of the first questions, because we asked him to examine the canisters and levers and so on, one of the first questions he asked us was, were the levers fingerprinted? And he said, because often in these situations, the assailants will be in a heightened emotional state. Their hands and fingers will be sweaty, and that there's a good chance of lifting prints off the levers of both the hand grenade as well as the tear gas canister. And just to assist you, we can refer you to some photographs, and there's several of them. So the photos from photo 36, 37, 38, 40 is a picture of the canister itself, and then photo 45 has the lever from the tear gas canister. That's probably the best one of the tear gas canister. And there's photos 37 and 38 are probably the best ones of the F1 grenade lever. So from what we can see, prints were not taken off those levers. Do you think there should have been an attempt to do so?
Not to run away from the question, first of all, my lord, the explosive expert cannot give an expert opinion regarding fingerprints. So the member that was on the crime scene would have known what to do on the crime scene under the direction of his supervisor, the detective, and he himself, his own observations. To answer the question, yes, it is a possibility that fingerprints could have been taken from there, but as I say yet again, I don't know what Sergeant Nordier or Warrant Officer Nordier was thinking at that time.
But with respect, Captain, with respect, I'm not asking you to get into the shoes or to the head of Sergeant Nordier. He is deceased. We don't want you to speculate what he might have thought. We're asking for your professional opinion. Should it have been done or not?
Yeah, it should have been done. You could have investigated the lever for fingerprints.
Indeed. But it wasn't done.
Why it was done, my lord, yet again, I will say again, I don't know why.
And since, you know, you say Charles Nordier is not a fingerprint expert, correct. I accept that. But you accept that Mr. Duplessis is a fingerprint expert.
No, I accept he's a fingerprint expert.
So let's see what he says about this. And my lord, it's on the same page that we gave you the reference for. So my lord, my question to Mr. Duplessis is, and the same question in relation to the tear gas canister that was left on the scene as well as the grenade levers. Do you know whether they were fingerprinted? Mr. Duplessis says, not that I can recall, no. My follow-up question is, okay, do you think they should have been printed? Mr. Duplessis, they should have, yes. So, yeah, we have the evidence of Mr. Duplessis, who was involved in fingerprinting, saying, yes, they should have been examined for fingerprints.
No, I agree with him to say that it should have been fingerprinted, but as I'm going to say again, I was not on the crime scene.
I know you were not there, and we've never suggested that you were there. We know you were in another police station altogether. You were busy with other cases. This had nothing to do with you. So, please, we're not trying to put you on the spot, and we're not accusing you of anything. We have you here because you are a professional investigator with years of experience. So we want your professional opinion, nothing more than that.
Thank you, my lord.
So what I want to put to you, and I don't want a response that you can't put yourself in the shoes of Mr. Nordier. I want your professional opinion. Was it not a blunder on the part of the team not to have lifted prints off those two levers, or attempted to lift prints?
My Lord, to answer that question, from a professional opinion, if I did the crime scene, I will answer it in this way: I would have fingerprinted it.
And let's say for the moment you were there and you did fingerprint and you did lift prints, we might be in a very different situation today. Because who knows, maybe we could have picked up a match on those prints.
If there was a beautiful fingerprint and the person was on record and the fingerprints that came in, yeah,
Yes.
there could have been made a match if there was a positive fingerprint.
That possibility was there.
There is a possibility
Right.
if it was printed.
Right. Well, we will be submitting to this court that at the very least, that was a blunder on the part of the investigators that night. Now, we know that there was the investigating officer, Sergeant Bossa, on the scene, as well as, just remind me of the rank of Stassen?
Captain.
Stassen. Was he a lieutenant at the time? So apparently the rank of Stassen he was a lieutenant at the time. And our understanding, and this is the evidence of Mr. Duplessis, is that Lieutenant Stassen was in charge of the forensic side of the investigation. So the photos, the video, and the fingerprints. So the individuals doing all of that work fell under him. Now clearly Lieutenant Stassen was listening to the evidence given in the first hearing, because he had quite a lot to say in social media in relation to this case. And my Lord, we want to hand up copies of what Lieutenant Francois Stassen had to say. I believe it was on YouTube, because I think there was an SABC excerpt on YouTube which focused on the evidence perhaps of Captain Peterson in relation to the fingerprints. I'm not sure whether, is this going to be Exhibit Z? My Lord, this will be Exhibit Z.
Said very well.
Do we have one?
Yes.
So, my Lord, we downloaded this comment, which was posted on YouTube. Where's the date of it? My Lord, it was posted on YouTube on the 30th of January 2025. Posted by someone with the name of Francois Stassen, and his posting name is there. It's at FS-GZ3QM. So, my Lord, I'll read into the record what he had to say. I was on that scene as a fingerprint expert and scene of crime examiner. A team from the office did the photographs, plans, forensics and fingerprints on that scene and spent about 7 hours on that scene. In brackets, I had to personally clear the scene from all the uniformed people that were on the scene for no reason at all. Fingerprints were lifted at the scene. In brackets, I am told the office in East London are looking for all the exhibits. I was a captain at that stage, and my commander were also at the scene of crime. Captain Darrell Else, the late, was the investigating officer at that scene. My Lord, we think that's a mistake because Else came along a bit later. Mm-hmm. It was Sergeant Bossa who was at the scene. There were definitely fingerprints lifted at that scene. Keep in mind that the fingerprint experts are not investigating officers, and therefore the investigations were conducted by serious violent crimes. There was also a vehicle examined that were used by the culprits. The local criminal records centre is there to assist all the other units of the SAP and not to do their work for them. As far as I know, there were people arrested, but they were all released after 1995. The poor investigator that is mentioning suspicion or saying that someone did not do their work properly should put it on the shoulders of the investigating officers and not try to blame another unit. The full team that were on that scene of crime from the local criminal record centre had on average the best solution figures on serious violent crimes in the country. This is the same one. And then there's another post, my lord, if you turn the page, on the 31st of January. And this Francois Stassen says the following: "What a lot of nonsense some of these people are talking. I was a captain at that stage and was at that scene of crime for several hours with a team consisting of photographers, forensic scene of crime examiners and fingerprint experts. I was second in charge of the local criminal record centre at that stage. The NPA does not know what they are talking about. It has been confirmed that fingerprints were lifted at the scene. However, suspects have been identified by the Serious Violent Crimes Unit via Captain Darrell L. Slate. I believe they have all been given indemnity. My commander was with me at the scene of the crime. If you consult with old murder and robbery and serious violent crime units, you would have known our office was, I think he says once of the best, I think he means to say one of the best officers that did forensic scene of crime examining in South Africa. It is no wonder to me that you cannot find information because it has either been destroyed or sold by someone. The local criminal record centre are an aid to detectives and do not take over the responsibility of investigating murders. Please get your facts straight before you endeavour to start pointing fingers at other units, because four fingers are pointing towards yourself. We had some of the best serious violent crime investigators as well. Facts, facts, and more facts, and no thumb-sucking, please, because we should be concentrating on facts. And if you would like to know my name, it's Francois Stassen, and I am on pension in Oudtshoorn." So that concludes the two posts on social media, on YouTube. So, Captain, from what I pick up, assuming that this is Lieutenant Stassen, we will be calling him, he's saying that he was on the scene and they did a very good job, and they were one of the best outfits in the country, and that their work cannot be faulted. And yet, not a single cartridge was examined for fingerprints, and we can see that the two levers were also not examined for prints. What is your response to what Francois Stassen had to say in the light of the fact that key prints were not lifted on that night in question?
Joseph, if I can just get my breath back.
Yes. Indeed.
I'm going to be honest with you, my lord. It's the first time that I'm seeing this, and I'm a little bit shocked of a few statements that are made here. I agree with some and some I don't agree with. But every person has a right to his own opinion. And my opinion that I was said, as I was asked earlier on, would I have done fingerprints on the cartridge cases and on the lever? Yes, I would have done it, my lord. So to make comments and to say something about this report that is here, I rather keep the comment to myself, my lord, if the court can allow me to keep my comment to myself.
My lord, I'm not going to press this matter.
Very well.
Just check with Cliffy if there's anything else. Lord, I just want to check my notes to see if there's any last minute.
Yes, certainly.
I can't hear you. Okay. Testing exhibit L. So you were talking about this process which you called elimination, and you gave us a good account of what it means, and I think the court and ourselves understand.
Yes, my lord.
And in the report that you've uncovered, towards the back there are the palm prints and fingerprints of a person of interest or suspect, a certain Mr. Mama.
Let me just make 100% sure. Yeah.
So I think look from page 11.
That's correct, my your worship.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned that an elimination was carried out in relation to this particular individual, and no match was
Yeah,
was made.
it was done on APHIS and manually by myself,
Yeah.
my lord. And then I had the assistance of a fellow colleague of mine.
If I can just draw the attention of the court to Exhibit L. So can we pull out Exhibit L, please? We're just going to get you this Exhibit L, but in the meantime, I'll just tell you what Exhibit L is. Brigadier Marion went through the docket and the investigation diary with a fine-tooth comb, and he prepared a table of all the suspects mentioned in the docket and diary. So it's a list, very substantial list. The first list is about 67 names long. And then he gives the reference in the diary as to where they are mentioned, together with the elimination references in the diary as well. Yeah. All right. We don't have a copy of that, but I have one, so I'm going to hand you up my copy. Just make it a little bigger for you.
Yes, my lord.
So on the face of it, it seems as if there were quite a number of potential suspects or persons of interest. And besides Mr. Mama, and actually you'll see Mr. Mama's name there, he's number 5.
Yes, my lord. Yes, my lord.
And there are a couple of references to him in the diary, and the elimination reference is at C123 at page, also page 123. But apparently other eliminations were done. So number 2, Longisi Ntintili at C26. And if we go down to number 19, Mr. Mbekwa, C56 and C70. And then there's, I'm not going to take the court through it because it's not necessary, but there's at least another 3 eliminations. Oh, wait a minute. No, there's many more. So we're probably looking at an additional maybe 10 odd eliminations that, at least according to the diary, were carried out. The exact number, I suppose, isn't terribly important. But do you possibly know why only Mr. Mama's prints appear as an elimination record in the report that you uncovered?
The reason why Mr. Mama's one is there's the only ones that I received, my lord. So I cannot say why I don't have the other ones.
Okay. And if you were to hazard a guess as to where they might be or what happened to them?
It is if these people that are mentioned on here, my lord, if they were arrested and maybe they were found guilty and all that, it is just a little bit difficult, my lord. But if I can have like a case number attached to each one of these, then it will make it much easier for me. Then I can go back to the CRIM, and then I can search on CRIM the fingerprint numbers. And then that fingerprint numbers, if it's on the CRIM, then obviously it will be on APLA. And then I can just do another rescan and then search those fingerprint numbers against these palm prints that were here. But if these people are on record and then they must have been linked with a palm print that is identifiable here on the prints, photograph prints that I have, if you understand, my lord.
Well, we're assuming that if the eliminations happened and their prints were compared, no matches were made, because if matches were made, we assumed they would have been arrested.
Yes, it would have been arrested and a statement would have been issued to the IO.
Yeah. So are we safe in assuming that most likely the prints were taken from them and no matches were made?
It is a probability, my lord, that it was taken and no match was made. Because if, my lord, I'm going to state again, regarding, remember, my lord, I'm testifying on the Mphahlele envelope that I have in front of me. If there was a person identified, then, say maybe for one Mphahlele, then there would only have been 6 in here. But nobody has been identified. So if my lord understands what I'm trying to say.
Yes, I certainly understand. We blew up two photos that were taken outside the Highgate Hotel the next morning, and there were a large number of police officers outside, and we're busy trying to identify who those police officers were. These are exhibits E1 and E2. Sorry, F1 and F2. Captain, my turn is going to bring up this big photo. If you recognize anybody in there, perhaps you could just assist us and let us know who they are.
I must remember I was only 3 years this time in the police, no? These guys are much older now. They are old actually already. My lord, it's now a quick run this, but I can't identify these guys. I'm not one of these members. No, my lord.
No, if you can't, that's no issue. Of course, that was a long time ago. Were those both photos, or there's another one?
Yeah, I identified 2 here now so far. Now they are very close friends. Very, very close. I identify John Bozer and Roderick Bozer. And then the one detective standing here in the white, my lord. I know he works at murder and robbery. I just forgot his surname, but I know him also by face. I know him, my lord. I know that guy, and yeah.
Just point out the Bozer.
Okay, there is John Bozer.
Just a minute. He's the one in the background.
Yeah.
Alright.
Standing in front of the person with the brown jersey on.
Yes.
Roderick Bozer is looking down. He's got a blue shirt on.
Oh, he's partly concealed.
Yeah, he's partly
concealed. He's a shorter guy.
You know a Bozer if you see a Bozer. I just know the bosses. We
Oh,
are
you
very,
know
very
them.
well acquainted, Your Worship. We are very good friends.
So what is this? One is John, what's the other one?
The other one is Roderick Bosser.
Roderick.
And then this detective here with the white shirt on the left side here, standing behind Roderick. I know
Tall
him.
guy.
Yeah, the tall one. I know him, but I just forgot his surname, man.
He's from Mercer.
Yeah, yeah, I know him. I know him. He used to come there with the lekker good arms. Others. Yeah, that's the only three that two that I know by name, and the other one I know by face, my lord.
Thank you, Captain. My investigators have just asked me to pose one last question to you. Typically at a murder scene like the Highgate hotel murder scene, would the prints of patrons who were present at the time, including survivors, would they be taken as well to make sure that you have them on record and you can distinguish those prints from others?
Yeah, Your Worship, my lord, that is a procedure that is followed up until today. When you even do a housebreaking, house robbery case, you do take the fingerprints. Or if you cannot do it at that time, then you ask the detective, can you do the following? Persons that were inside the house or on the crime scene, can you take their fingerprints and bring it to me so that we can eliminate whose fingerprints? Because many times we do identify the occupants that were there and not the suspects. So yes, my lord, it has to be done. Yeah, it has to be done.
But it wasn't done in this murder
I don't
investigation.
know, my lord.
Well, there's no evidence of any such prints.
I don't know, my lord.
No. There is no evidence in
Okay.
your records or the records that other investigating officers, including Captain Peterson, that such prints were taken.
I don't have any, my lord. To be honest, my lord, my hunt was for this food-in envelope. I didn't think to go and rush for this because I'm going to be honest. We were pressed by the provincial office to get all this information ASAP because the court required this food-in envelope and all. All that I said, go look for it, see what's on it, and do your evaluation thereof.
But surely, Captain, if there were other prints relating to the same investigation, the same CAS or CR number, they would all be there.
They would be there, but once you do the elimination, remember there was no persons identified, so there's no identified docket. So they will keep the prints separately in a separate file to say, you get a file where you say elimination prints, maybe your owner or your occupants there, and then you get your suspect elimination one. That is how it was done, but now we will put everything together. Once you get the elimination and no person is identified, remember, we are in possession of those fingerprints, but we need to destroy it if there's no person's identity, especially when it is now the complainant and all that. So, I don't know if they take it, what they did with it. Did they take eliminations, my lord? I cannot, but it is a rule to take eliminations on crime scenes of the occupants or the people that were on the scene of crime. Why it was done, I cannot say, my lord.
No, I'm not asking you to speculate that, but I'm raising it as yet another apparent blunder and shortcoming in this investigation, because as we stand today, we are none the wiser as to whether the prints, the palm prints sitting in that folder, are not patrons, staff members, maybe the owner. They could be, but we'll never know.
I now agree to that. We can't know whose prints it is at this stage.
No further question.
Thank you.
Lord, I have no further questions for the witness.
Thank you very much. Very happy. Good luck
Thank you, my lord.
for your next exam.
Yeah, thank you, my lord. You will come next year.
You'll excuse.
Thank you, my lord. Appreciate it.
Having read the physical
proceed into this juncture. Good reason. We will reconvene tomorrow morning at 9:30 to continue with the hearing. Court will adjourn.
All right.
Vale.